Hello, folks. Welcome to What Are the Odds with Barnes and Baris. Taking my vape break on the last of it before I get to switch the screen over to Barnes and then sneak it when you guys aren't looking. All right, on one half of the show, of course, Rich Baris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. The best place to follow us, both Barnes, he'll be here soon. And I, of course, is on Locals. He's sportspicks.locals.com. And I am right here below, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Of course, we're everywhere. You know the deal. On X, at peoples_pundit. The same on Instagram, at peoples_pundit. My newest follower. Woo! It always feels like somebody's watching me and I got no privacy, right? You know? Of course. Everyone wants to know, of course, what's going on in Kentucky 4. So, of course, I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let me just tell you what the plan is. And actually, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit now before Robert gets on. But let me just tell you what the plan is. The plan is to do the very best I can to get the first wave of results to you by Wednesday. Understand it is a congressional district. All right. So it's a little hard to do a rolling average daily on a congressional district. The plan is most definitely to track it right up until election day. All right. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Can I do daily updates? I don't know. So what we may do is like a Wednesday drop, then maybe Friday or Saturday drop. Of course, I'm going to try to coordinate it with the show. That's the smartest thing to do. And then a Monday drop. And then the election, of course, will be Tuesday, May 19th. It's early, but just let me tell you two things. One thing is what I see, and it is early. It's too early for me to tell you what I think it's going to end like. All right. But I did get a little Tweety bird called me and asked me, since they knew I was polling the district, what I was seeing, because there was a little bit of nervousness over at the West Wing and Team Massey. What do I mean by that? I think the president's worried about losing this race because it will be embarrassing. And if he does, it will be embarrassing. You know, I mean, that's all there is to it. I think this race is the most impactful, let's call it consequential, primary of the election cycle. It's weird to say that a district like Kentucky 4 could impact the direction of the Republican coalition, but it will. So, look, I don't know what they're seeing over there. They've been modeling their electorate at like 55%, 65 plus from the very beginning. It's why they pushed back on public polling, including our own, that showed Massey ahead in this race. They have always had, like, you know, older voters, not just 65 plus, but even the older side of that, like half the electorate. That's just not Kentucky 4. That's just not that kind of district. Now, there's two things that can happen when you have AIPAC spend $10 million in a race and bombard an incumbent like this. And it has always been the strategy of Ed Galvin, and Ed Galvin doesn't have a strategy. Ed Galvin is an empty suit. All right. Look, dude, we're getting to the end of this thing. So, like, I'm a pollster. Of course, I'm going to poll this as honest and as accurately as I possibly can and to the best of my abilities. But let's not pussyfoot around here. Ed Galvin is an empty suit. They found a never Trumper and a COVID lockdown guy who left the Republican Party when Donald Trump was nominated and didn't come back until after Joe Biden won and was handed the keys to the White House. But Trump is so mad at Massey, and he's mad at everyone who stood up to him on the Epstein situation. I mean, it's just a fact that he wants Massey gone. Now, I know people who like Thomas Massey and you know, say he's difficult to work with. And the reason why is simple, because most, like 99% of people, folks, who get to that town end up selling you out. It's just a fact. So here's my thoughts on this. I mean, Galvin's not making the strategy. Those are consultants, political consultants, and AIPAC. They are telling him what to do. And when he gets in office, they will tell him what to do. So it doesn't really matter that Ed Galvin's not showing up to debate, and it doesn't matter that Ed Galvin's not showing up to campaign events and he's hiding in his basement like Joe Biden. It doesn't matter, because who the hell cares what Ed Galvin believes? Certainly the 3 billionaires who funded that PAC don't give a shit. And when he gets, if he was to get in office, that's what it's going to be. So let's not kid ourselves. If you're pissed at Massey and you don't like him, that's one thing. But here's the thing. Massey's votes are Massey's votes. So if you have an issue with it, you could say, you know what, Tom, I don't like this. Explain yourself. And at least he will. That's the big difference. I mean, that's it, guys. Have you been in this business as long as I have? There's no bullshit in here. Okay. You don't get $10 million for a congressional district like this. You don't get it. Especially not a district like Kentucky 4. It's not an expensive, high-priced media market. That buys your ass. It's that simple. It's that simple. This reminds me very much of somebody like I'm not going to bring somebody else into it. The guy was defeated, though. But you may know who I'm talking about. I told you he would just be Ukraine's bitch. And that's what he ended up being until he was defeated in a district that Donald Trump actually carried last presidential election cycle. Now, there's no risk of that happening, but Republicans out there bitch and moan about how all of their representatives don't support them. This is how this happens. So, I mean, it's a demon of your own design, folks. You know what I mean? It's a demon of your own design. At some point, it is what it is. The strategy has always been to bombard the district, because if you bombard the district, you turn people off. I was showing Robert, and I don't know when he's coming, but you know what? I'll hit him up right now. You coming? You coming? You coming? He's coming. I know. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit difficult of an hour for him. But basically, you bombard the district with all these ads, and this has long been the Republican establishment, and certainly, I would say the Israel lobby. Of course, they have been on the Republican establishment side for a long time. They did not fund insurgent conservatives, not real ones anyway, maybe fake ones, but they didn't really fund insurgent conservatives. And it's long been their strategy to do this, which is carpet bomb and mail plaster everywhere. And then what does that do? Negative stuff, particularly younger people. This is a kind of a rule of thumb in politics. Okay. That does motivate older people. It does, I mean, it's targeted towards a 60 plus, 65 plus who's like, oh man, he doesn't like Trump. Man, this guy's a scumbag. I'm going to vote against him. But younger people are less myth-believing the way that Boomer and the silent gens are myth-believing, and they don't like it. They don't like it at all. And I'll probably wind up showing you some of this, but one of the transcripts I did show Robert, a woman basically responded to a peer-to-peer and was like, listen, if I even vote at this point, I'll probably count up these freaking ads, and whoever had less, I'm going to vote for. This has been ridiculous. We have never lived with this in Kentucky forever. Now, she's going, we ended up calling her for a personal interview, and that's what I showed to Robert. But interestingly enough, this is a very high propensity voter. She's not young, but she's not old. She's like middle-aged. She's like Massey's demographic for sure. And she's going to vote. But the goal here is to depress people like her, because younger people, especially those who are difficult to get out, Republicans have suffered or struggled with, it's very hard for them to be excited by negative stuff like this. And the Republican establishment knows that. And it's been their go-to method of defeating outsiders. All right. There's a hitch with this. And the hitch is, when you depress their turnout in the primaries and it's just like old white people voting, like, no offense, guys, if you're old and white, but you know what I'm talking about here, you're going to get your asses kicked in the general election. The problem Republicans have, and I think they probably already, I'm not going to say it's cemented yet, but we're seeing it everywhere. You might have saw there were two national polls that came out yesterday and today. They are very close to us. I think one's Democrat +9. The other one was Democrat +10. Very close to us, which we led, of course, on. And it's because it's not just that Republicans are doing worse with older voters, because that voting group, that older voting group, that older boomer, white boomer voting group, which, by the way, did not call itself MAGA before. It's calling itself MAGA now, but it did not call itself MAGA before. Trump's entire MAGA base, the reason he was able to beat Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley was not because of all white people, right? They're not calling themselves MAGA anymore. Nikki Haley's voters are calling themselves MAGA. This is what you guys have to understand. The problem with the pitch to those people is that they themselves are a minority within their own generational block. And everyone else who was in the Trump coalition really can't stand them. And now you're going to, it's a Pyrrhic victory. You understand what I'm saying? That's what Trump and his allies are seeking. They're seeking Pyrrhic victories that win in the primaries and then kill or hurt the brand in the general election. That is the anti-Trump. It's crazy that I'm including Trump in this now, but that is the anti-Trump. That's what Trump used to fight. And that was the magic of what he did. Barnes is here. I want to bring him in. But that's the sad part about this, guys, is that that's who Donald Trump used to fight. That's what Donald Trump used to fight. And now he's one of them. Let me bring in Robert Barnes. Robert, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're going to cover the some of the impact of the Voting Rights Act on the House seats, but I'm going to wait to update the projection on that until all of that filters through.
Gets through, yeah.
And then do a deep dive on this episode on the Senate, looking at the history of what context matters in the U.S. Senate midterm elections, going back to 1926, give or take. You can look at 22, but there was no incumbents from the 1916 class. Because the Senate, that came about, I think 1917. If I recall.
That was a brand new thing. Yeah,
exactly. It was but looking at what drives it, what if you have certain factors present, what do the midterms look like in terms of foreign war, in terms of cost of living or recession, in terms of any kind of major scandal? What happens if you have multiple of those combinations? Looking a little bit beneath the hood at some of those races, because there's a perception that redistricting could change some of those numbers in the House. They wouldn't have an impact on the Senate. But people forget, the Democratic Party had an institutional lock on the South for a long time. So that often your midterm elections between, say, 22 and really 66, that, if the Democratic Party was the institutional party, a lot of those seats weren't really up for grabs. That only came about later. But so we'll look at all that, give you some historical context of what to look for, that, the Republicans have surged in the odds of late. That on the Senate doesn't make a lot of sense as some people are looking at. They're nothing's really changed in that dynamic, unless people think that Barr being the nominee in Kentucky is going to make a big difference. But we'll look at that in light of, and then look at this Senate map. Why I forget his last name, Seth, with a K, but I'll explain why those people think it's a favorable map. And think
which is understandable, because I like Seth. We talk all the time, but it's totally understandable. However, let me just stop you right there and just say something here, Robert. Okay. We have a false sense of security because of the realignment, and this realignment was not completed. And you think it is because of what you're seeing, what you saw in the registration numbers for damn near 10 years now. This trend damn near 10 years old. However, it's reversing now, and it's taking people a while to digest the fact that this is reversing, and that it was already a difficult, very, very difficult task to take advantage, even if you kept that coalition in the realignment. It was going to take a huge effort to get out the vote with that side of the Republican coalition. So Ohio is a great example. If you think that Houston is a favorite here because Trump carried Ohio by 13.5 points, you're wrong. Moreno was more MAGA than Houston is ever going to be, and Moreno barely won with Trump on the ballot against Sherrod Brown, who, Tim Ryan was a great candidate in 2022, brother, 22. He was a great candidate in 22, but just that Vance was exceptional. He was exceptional. But this is not this is not I don't know how else to say it. This coalition, even so many of these people who say they're Republican. Okay, let me give them 32% of the sample nationally we have right now. 32 self-identifies as Republican. You know how many are registered to vote? registered Republican, inferred and full registration, 38.9. So 7% of the entire sample is saying, I'm not a Republican anymore. And we're just now starting to see, you know what? I mean, you follow him too. I think you do. He does really good work. Data analyst CK is what he is on Twitter. He's probably gonna be like, oh shit, he's giving me a shout out. I am, because he's doing a really good. He lives, by the way. I don't want to say that shit. It's not my place to say. But we're very familiar with very similar areas. And he's looking at Pennsylvania. He's looking at North Carolina. These are very leading states when it comes to these trends, Robert. Onslow County, bro. Onslow County, where Camp Lejeune is, has by week, we've been watching Democrats gain more net. Independent gains. That's what, and I like Seth, but this is something we disagree on. Bro, if independents are 117 new registrations last week and Democrats are 30 and Republicans are 31, it doesn't mean Republicans won the registration battle when you're losing independents by 20 points. You understand? Like, this is not the same thing, especially since the rate of the gains were smaller. The independent switchers, Robert, people who just are now calling themselves independent, but they previously were registered as a different party, were getting our ass kicked. And by the way, Democrats were getting their ass kicked when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. Democrats were getting their ass kicked when Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these, it's just people aren't catching up quick enough, dude. They're just not. And this is typical. This is not uncommon. But go ahead. I just wanted to bring that up because.
Well, the maybe pull up the chart. I think I said over Senate midterms, the first one. We'll do the first one and the second one before we go to the economic metrics. Yeah, the and there's a way to blow that up or not. The
there is like that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, basically, I should have made it bigger.
You know what? I can do it. Keep talking. I'll get it. I got an idea.
Yeah.
I got an idea.
So essentially, what we looked at was the Senate midterms since 1922, looking. So that's 104 years of history. And looked at whether or not in those midterms, looked at how many of the White House incumbent parties' Senate seats were up in that cycle. Because unlike House seats, Senate seats rotate. Only a third of the Senate is up any given midterm. And number one. Then number two, looked at the whether or not there was a war, a recession, or a major. Oh, yeah, perfect. So like when there's been no recession, no new war, no scandal. No major scandal. In that for that midterm, what percent? Because in order for the Republicans to lose the Senate, they need to lose 18% of the open seats or incumbent seats that they have that are up for grabs. So they need to lose 4 of the available seats. And the question is, how often has 20% or more of the incumbent White House incumbent party lost that many percentage of Senate seats that are up for grabs in a midterm? And the biggest determinative factor is there a recession or cost of living inflation big issue economically? Is there a new war or just got finished with a war? Is there some foreign war issue present in that election? And has there been any kind of significant or substantial scandal? And you could argue, I included some years as no recession, no war, no scandal.
Yeah, I see that.
You could argue 1994 did have some scandals, but you could argue 2010 did. But mostly those were policy issues and some other issues. So what you see, in 1926, I'm sorry, let's see. 1926. Yeah, so these are years without any of these issues. 2020, you did have 20% or more. But then 1934, the incumbent party added Senate seats. You go for 1954, a little bit under 20% of the seats lost. 1962, the incumbent party added seats. 1970, the incumbent party added seats. 1978, you had a 20. You could argue there on the economy whether the stagflation was how much of that was an issue that cycle, but because it wasn't overwhelming in the polling data, didn't include it. So, but then you had a 20% change. Then 1986, even without major problems, though I would put a caveat on it, you had 40% of Republican incumbents, or 40% of Republican-held seats got lost to the Democrats in the 86 Senate cycle. It's what cost Bork the Supreme Court. the nomination. But with the caveat there is there was a regional recession that year. There was a major farm recession in the farm states, and industry was beginning to feel the effects of deindustrialization. Despite Reagan's efforts to mitigate it, it was starting to come home already by the mid-1980s. So in the industrial heartland and the Midwest, where there was loss of seats, there was actually a recession. But it wasn't nationwide. 1990, no major loss. 1994, there was a major loss. Again, you can argue that Clinton's healthcare policy engaged the military and his other issues, the Ron Brown issues, the other issues were sufficiently to call that a scandal. But even if you don't include it in there, that's one of the few years in this cycle when there was a major turnover. But you could argue that the turnover is because one of those three things actually was present. 98 wasn't any major shift. In fact, I think Democrats added seats. 2002, Republicans added seats. 2010, 2014, Obama lost seats. But in 2018 and 2022, the incumbent party either stayed even or gained seats. Trump gained Senate seats in his first term.
Yes.
So for those that were saying things are inevitable, the key factor is there a recession? Is there a unpopular or major war that either we just got out of or we're in? And is there a major scandal? That's the context, because a majority of, so this is where the sets of the world and others are looking at it. They're thinking of this electoral environment. In this electoral environment, it's only a 50-50 chance whether the odds of the prediction markets would be right. Only 50-50 chance whether the Republicans lose seats. Now let's look at whether any of these three factors are present in the other one. I looked at.
Yeah, I got to remove this one in order to add. We have so many charts. So yeah, the rating for this one, guys, is data heavy because I'm deleting charts in order to add new ones. Like every time I show them a chart, I got to get rid of it. We're maxed out on what we want to show, but here we go. And let's make it bigger and make them so they can see
so
it.
This is when there was either a recession or cost of living issue that was a dominant in the during the midterm, whether there was a new unpopular war or a war that we just got out of, even if it was popular, or a major scandal. And so these are these elections. So 1930, the Republican Party lost 40% of their Senate seats. 1938, lost 20%. 1942, lost 35%. 1946, lost half, just got out of World War II, and we're facing a major cost of living crisis. 1950, I'm sorry. Yeah, is that 1950?
Yeah, 25%. 1950.
Yeah, that's right. Because that was both the Korean War issue and a cost of living issue ongoing. 25% loss. 1958. That was a bad that was the Eisenhower recession. One of the only down periods in Eisenhower's reign. But even with Eisenhower as president, Republicans got wiped out in the Senate. The 1966 LBJ did not get that. He got hit hard, bad in the House, but not as bad in the Senate. 1974. When you've got stagflation just out of the Vietnam War and Watergate, 29%. And that's even worse if you look underneath the hood. They actually lost 7 of the 11 seats they had held in 1968, 1974. Some of those that had some interim people dying or so forth. So it's not as clear, but it's actually more like 40%. Or even up to 60% of the actually competitive seats lost. Somebody asked what could Husted do, or what could somebody in Collins or Maine or other people, or what's the name in Sullivan in Alaska do? We'll get to that because I'll use a reference point to 1974. 2 Republicans that held on.
There is a way to hold on. Absolutely, there's a way to hold on. Yeah,
and what it involves, though, is not what anybody's probably advising them.
Because they don't have the balls. They don't have the ball.
The 1982, Reagan got hammered in the House, but not the Senate. And then, of course, 2006. This was before a recession had come in, without really a major scandal yet, depending on how you interpret the WMD lie, which was starting to filter through the public by that point. But you'd have the Iraq War, and the Republicans lost 40% of their seats. So what you see is there's an 80% odds chance they lose at least 4 seats if you think recession or cost of living is going to be an issue in this midterm, if you think the Iran war is going to be an issue at all in this midterm, and if you think the Epstein scandal is going to be an issue in this midterm. Now, combine all three. There's really no history. Maybe 46 and 74 if you are broad and generous in certain categorizations. But, I mean, Vietnam we just got out of, and Nixon didn't start that war. Nixon had also already resigned by the time of the November elections. So there was no anti-Nixon, like, peak hatred at the time. And he wasn't blamed for the stagflation. That was OPEC. So that did so independent of anything he did. That was just what Israel did without our involvement. And so, or at least public awareness of our involvement. And so consequently, what you look at with anything comparable is something like 40 to 50% of the seats that are up, we lose. That's what's going to, if you think all three are going to be a factor in this election, then what this historical data says is it's going to be a wipeout for Republicans. And not only they lose at least 4 seats, they could lose up to 11 seats. And we'll look at the map as to where those surprises might come from.
Let me just add, and while this is off, then I can put us over here now too. Now, this was higher anyway, so we weren't going to cover it anyway. But let me just add this, because for people, they know, like Alan, for instance, Derelichtman, as Viva calls him, which is perfect. I'm going to give up a little bit of a secret here that I've never really said out loud, because we've criticized his keys model in the past. And this is where one of Alan's major keys fall apart, or what he misses with his keys, okay? So the idea of a scandal sounds, a lot of Alan's keys are actually very subjective, all right? And how he deals with scandal is wrong. It's a subjective. Does Alan, the professor and know-it-all, think it's a scandal? And that's where he gets it totally wrong. And he's, Trump, he was riddled with scandals, and by the time he got to 24, he was under indictment. It's a huge scandal. The question, folks, is perception. So how do we define what is a scandal and whether it's going to matter? Does the public think it's a scandal, and do they care? It doesn't matter if the media says it, or their political opponents say it, or some washed up election forecaster like Derelichtman says it. What does the public think? So you may, if you're a Trump supporter, hardcore, you may not think the Epstein situation was scandalous at all, or how the Iran war was carried out was scandalous at all. But you're in the minority, and people do care an awful lot. And Mike Tracy, I'm not sure he cares, but we were going back and forth because he was very skeptical on the idea that Epstein was weighing really heavily on the minds of voters. And I was showing him transcribed interviews from polling, and I was showing, and he actually, I don't know if he is or not, but when we had first polled Massey's district, for instance, it was like showing him what people were saying, as we were talking to them, and if Epstein mattered to them, explained to him, these are the texts in Virginia when Republicans were trying to get the vote out in 25. Here's what people were replying with, so it doesn't matter if I gotta say this, if you're in the minority, it doesn't matter. Like the IRS scandal, clearly, I think a scandal. Obama sent, the IRS after conservative groups, but the public didn't give a shit. They really didn't care. That's what it comes down to. So sucks for us, but that's the way he was reelected. That's all there is to it. That's not what hurt Obama, right? That's just, did it hurt him on the periphery? Did it fire up some conservatives? Sure. But was it determinative? No. And then just the other thing I was going to say on the map, maybe I didn't explain this better because I just saw a text from somebody who's watching. Maybe I need to explain this better. Yes, the cyclical nature of Senate seats can make it more difficult when you're looking at like the generic ballot modeling or any other modeling. It can make it difficult. It's less predictive than the House, but this is precisely the kind of cycle I'm talking about. So you're thinking, well, they're Republican states. They're not. If we were talking about Alabama, that would be different. If Ohio was like a Southern Republican state, that would be different. Ohio is not Alabama. All right. And just for people who don't know, Democrats have, even when they were winning that state, they were doing better on like identification when you would poll people, but the registrations were always kind of shit. They weren't great. It was there's a huge independent vote in Ohio. There always has been. Pennsylvania is one where there's very little independent vote. It's very high partisanship. However, those partisans can jump their ship pretty hard, like they did against Hillary Clinton in 2016. And, that wasn't a huge independent vote. It was like 14%. That's it. But Ohio's the opposite. There's a lot. Iowa, the opposite. There is a lot. Again, like, I just don't think people understand. They're not. And look, the data points are on our side. That's what it comes down to. If you look at 18, yes, Republicans have made registration gains in Iowa since 2018. They still had a huge, massive advantage in 2018. Yet that state swung hard against them. And how'd they do at the congressional level? How'd they do? Right? I mean, bottom line, in Ohio, they lost that Senate seat in 2018, even though Trump and his party picked up 2 Senate seats, which was the best incumbent midterm performance since JFK. And I've said this a lot, but that's one hell of a record. If they would have picked up one more seat, you would have had to go back to FDR to see an incumbent party perform that strongly in a first term incumbent midterm. But that, again, they didn't carry Ohio. They lost Ohio to this very guy who's running right now, who almost won when Trump won the state by nearly 14 points, guys. I mean, I pulled the map up before, Robert. It's not necessary for me to do it again. Bernie, great guy. He's a good retail politician. He's actually very relatable, and some of the attacks against him and his son just made him more relatable to average working class people. Like, we all have black sheep in our family. We all have effed up stuff going on. Bernie handled it great. He was a really good retail dude on his feet, and he got it done, but he only won by 3.5. Okay? Like, that's it. He ran 10 points behind Donald Trump. Husted is getting bludgeoned with the Epstein class stuff. Did you see Sherrod Brown's new ad? Oh my God, I should have loaded that up and show everyone. It's brutal.
I mean, to give an example of that, I don't know. I also sent the map of the current Senate map, though. You
want to throw that up now?
Yeah, because I was going to go through those. So, like, you take Ohio, which Richard's mentioning. Vance only ran 4 points ahead of the national Republican margin in Ohio for the Senate.
That's right.
Why? Because Tim Ryan was a blue-collar Democrat from Eastern Ohio, which is very ancestrally Democratic. Sherrod Brown has deep, deep roots in that area. And the Sherrod Brown was even more competitive. And the Marino, who ran a more populist campaign than Husted is capable of, only managed to run about 1.5 to 2 points ahead of the national margin. What does that mean? It means that the national margin is more than 2 points Democratic. Ohio's going Democratic with Sherrod Brown on that ticket. And then Sherrod Brown is running a heck of a campaign. You look at the individual factors. So we go through, like, I get what someone like Seth is looking at. He's looking at this map, and he sees a map that was very Trumpy in 2024.
Yes.
That other than Maine is the only Republican seat that Trump didn't win by at least 3 points. And then the next closest is North Carolina. And that's counterbalanced by Georgia and Michigan being held by Democratic incumbents, even though Michigan Democratic incumbent stepping down, it's an open seat, but where Trump won seats. So you look at the map, and this is why everybody thought going in, when Richard and I said back in November that the Senate is up for grabs and the Republicans are in serious trouble, everybody thought we were crazy. It's because they're looking at this traditional map, which, if there was no economic concerns with the cost of living, if there was no economic risk of a recession, if there was no major war that's dominating the news headlines and that is also unpopular, if there was no Epstein-type scandal on anybody's public agenda, if none of that existed, then 50-50 chance Republicans hold the seat. The problem is all three exist, and that spells 40 to 50% losses. So let me go through those. Maine, Collins is cooked unless she radically shifts. Well, she's out telling everybody that she's Israel's favorite senator. Good luck with that.
Robert, they're spending $10 million to talk about Graham Plattner's tattoos. I kid you not. I kid you not.
And they still don't understand.
Poso and I were like, well, that's over. Like, when we heard the strategy, we were like, is this for real? Are you guys like for real? And he turned to me. He's like, bro, have they been to Maine? Like, have they been to the 2nd District of Maine? Have they even been anywhere outside of like Bangor or Portland? Like, this seat's gone. Like,
if that mattered, why did Janet Mills drop out rather than get humiliated in a 30 to 40 point deficit? So that's the reason. So Plattner is an anti-war guy that goes back 25 plus years. He was an anti-Bush war guy, a Bush war protester guy. He is classic working class Northern Maine. And anybody who thinks a bunch of Portlanders, there's certain people in the suburbs that will vote for Collins, that are the ancestral Bushite Republicans.
Sure.
But what was keeping her afloat, I bet on Collins when nobody else was in 2020 when she was an underdog to win, because I thought Northern Maine would hold for her with Trump on the ticket. Northern Maine ain't holding for this cycle, especially when she's going around running on being for the war. And so and being the Israel candidate. Well, we'll get to in a bit. After we go through this map, we'll go through what could Republican Senate candidates do to reverse this equation, or change it in their individual dynamics. Looking at some of these past cycles, like 1974 is a good example. But so Maine, I think, is gone. North Carolina is cooked. North Carolina is gone. You've got a weak Republican candidate, a uniquely strong Democratic candidate. This was close to begin with. So in a +5 Democratic environment, North Carolina would be favored to the Democratic side. Republicans have barely won the Senate. When they have won.
North Carolina's gone. Let's stop talking about. I'm serious. Like anyone who's still talking about, Michael Whatley winning North Carolina is living. Nobody, and I know a lot of people here, bro. All right. No Republican leader thinks North Carolina is going Republican like that. No, everyone understands Roy Cooper is going to kick our ass. Like, I'm sorry. Like it's over, dude. Like I've never seen, I'm not even going to entertain this until I see Republican crossover vote come below 20%. All right. That's how bad it is in North Carolina right now. What do I mean by that? North Carolinians go knock on doors that are all Republican, and 20 of them at least are voting for Roy Cooper. All right. It's done. It's done. It's done.
So that
depressing. I'm so mad. Go ahead. I'm so angry, bro.
Maine, Ohio, New Hampshire gone. That puts us at 50-50. Republicans, there's these people that are still delusional. They have no shot in Michigan. Mike Rogers has no
these
shot.
Republican polls that are coming out, bro. Those are Republican pollsters, dude. Rogers couldn't close the deal with Trump on the ballot. There's no chance he's winning in Michigan. Come on with this copium bullshit. And whoa, look at this poll, right? The poll that told you actually Harris was going to win by 1. That guy who's been working for Republicans, then stabs Trump in the back with a Harris +1 at the last minute after he had Trump up for like 2 months. And then his final poll, he puts Harris +1. Don't tell me, dude. I think I was the closest poll in Michigan, was I not?
And then
the other two, very close.
Yeah, oh yeah. In your polling was one of the earliest ones to say Michigan would be more pro-Trump than Wisconsin.
Yep.
And especially like the Arab vote is completely gone. I mean, that helped him out in Dearborn, Michigan.
150K.
That's gone. That's all anti-Trump now. And all these people running around on the in the Dear Leader crowd who think being telling everybody like Paramount Tactical, those kind of people, telling everybody how scary all Islam is. Well, that's a good way to make sure they turn out and vote Democrat. Congratulations. But New Hampshire is not going to be competitive. It's just not within the realm. So, and then Georgia, Ossoff is running the best campaign of any Senate candidate on the Democratic side. Well, you can tell him, Richard, we tested in the 1776 Law Center poll what Ossoff's message resonated with nationwide.
Which is why Sherrod Brown is running this. Let me play a 30-second ad. All right. I think I should, man, because this is what we tested. And Democrats took it and they ran with it. See, this is the big difference here right now. Democrats who are radical, dangerous, they scare the shit out of me. They're listening. They've been listening for over a year. And now they're going to reap the rewards. While Republicans, went with, did you see the White House tweet today? The panicking fucking thing? Are you kidding? I'm sorry, bro. Are you kidding me? Is this supposed to be serious?
All day he was tweeting out like a toddler about how he's the greatest president of all time. I mean,
I got a video about this too. We'll get there.
Cooked.
Let me play this and show people. And then, the Law Center poll is up, but I can get the crosstabs and show them how devastating this message was when you have 40% of the Republican Party saying, oh, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Here, this is what Sherrod Brown is running. 30 seconds, real quick.
535 members of Congress. Who's taken the most money from associates of Jeffrey Epstein? John Husted, that's who. In fact, Husted's taken over $116,000 from one of Epstein's closest friends and co-conspirators. And last year took a maximum donation from him just weeks before voting to block the release of the Epstein files. John Husted, who's he really working for?
I'm sure Brown and I approve this message.
Jesus, Robert.
Again,
Jesus.
they're not running
That's
those.
just brutal.
They're not running those ads because it ain't a scandal.
Because it ain't a scandal. Yeah.
So what that does is, that puts us at 50-50 because we're not going to pick up seats. Republicans are not going to pick up seats. They're going to lose, at least in my view, those 3 seats of Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine. So now we look at the map and where else is up for grabs. Now, of course, that 50-50 may be enough by itself because I don't see Fetterman switching to the Republican side to counterbalance it. If presuming the Alaska senator without her friend.
I'm not going to give up, though. I'm not going to give up, though. I'm still trying.
Sure.
I am.
Yeah, I know. But Murkowski may vote Democrat if Fetterman decides to stay on the Democratic side. Then they already have control of the Senate anyway. But let's look at how else they could get it. They just need to pick up one more amongst these seats. And that's Iowa, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, Texas, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, Alaska. The reality is, of those 9 seats, if you look at this historical norm, you'd expect 2/3 of them to actually flip to the Democrats. That's if we come November, voters are still unhappy about the economy, either cost of living or job status. If the Iran war is still ringing in their ears at any level, if the Epstein scandal is still present in their minds at any level, or if 2 or all 3 are the case, then it would not surprise me at all to see a bunch of shock upsets. And I'll go to one before we go to Alaska, where the Democrats been leading for forever.
And I'm just pulling up the poll on the Epstein attack because I'll get there. While you're talking, I'm pulling this up to show people how devastating. Still didn't make it.
We tested what the Democratic message could be for 2026 and 2028, and saw and tested it against a good Republican message. Yep. And what we discovered is the Democratic message dominated. But we should read to them what the message is.
So so first we did the Democrat, the Republican, and then the Democrat Epstein attack on Trump specifically. All right, so and by the way, we'll always say, listen, we're going to read you a list of statements from different political people without telling them who it is, from different political leaders, in order. We tell them flat out, in order to gauge the appeal, the attractiveness, the residency of each party's message going into the midterms, or so far going into the midterms. And you and I kind of knew that, because obviously we still speak to different people and we knew what Democrats were going to do. So we took a lot of what Ossoff said specifically and ran with it. This is the Democratic one. And this is strongly agree to strongly disagree. It's basically a scale. Okay, guys? We need to expose and hold accountable the Epstein class and increase access to healthcare, not cut taxes for billionaires or spend money on more overseas wars. By the way, he said this before they started the Iran war. Yeah. We need to forgive the immense debt of working Americans, not give more special bailouts to Wall Street. We need to stop price discrimination by big corporations to make life affordable again. Like, it almost sounds like Donald Trump before Donald Trump became BB's boy. All right. I mean, that's it, right? Strongly agree, 53%. 52.5. All right. Actually, let me pull up party too, just so we can do this by party and people can see this. All right. Because honestly, isn't that what matters most? 52.5%. That includes 68% of Democrats, 42% of Republicans, and 45% of independents. Agree, just somewhat, more tepid agreement, but they still agree, 27%. That includes another 21% on top of 68% of Democrats, 32% on top of 42% Republicans. So guys, even Republicans are in the 70s with this message. 45.2% would strongly agree with independents, and another 27%. So again, 3/4 of independents, right? 3/4. Now here's the Republican message. So wait, combined 53, 27, combined, guys, you're looking at 8 and 10 appeal. All right. Looking at the Republican message, we need to deport all illegal aliens to get wages up and prices down, cut taxes for ordinary Americans, and replace them with tariffs on foreign goods. We need to crack down on monopolies to make life more affordable for ordinary Americans and empower people to make their own decisions on food and medicine, not force it on them with government regulations and mandates. Just so you guys don't know, that is Donald Trump. That's mostly Donald Trump. I believe some of it was Rubio we tested too or something. Right? It was Rubio, the other thing, right?
And some stuff that Vance.
And some stuff from
Because
Vance.
part of it was testing a 2028 campaign.
That's right.
Comparison.
That's right.
But this was a more populist version. I mean, right
that's
now.
That's right. We were really generous.
Yeah, these are very few Republicans are even running on this. But it had nowhere near the same approval as the Democratic message.
Guys,
because of the residents of Epstein, the residents of the cost of living crisis. And again, this was before the Iran war put everything off the rails and emphasized everything that was negative and de-emphasized everything that was positive, unfortunately, because it sucks up all the oxygen in the room. I mean, look at what's been the last 10 weeks. Does anybody know of any news other than the Iran war? Hasn't that been the top story on the news every single day now for 10 weeks in a row? I mean, that's the problem. You know, all the refunds that people got, was there hardly a single day that dominated the news cycle?
Like Matt Gaetz said, Robert, you pay gas every day. You file your taxes once a year.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Matt is right. 32% strongly agreed, guys. 26% somewhat agreed. It does not have majority support across all parties the way that the Democratic message does. Even Republicans were barely above agreement than they were on the Democratic message. I'm only talking about a few points. Now, they were more strongly by about 5 points, but that is not a lot. Okay. Independents were not 3/4. They were 53. So they were, or 55. Let me see. 55, 56, actually, if we round. But still, that's 20 points lower than they were on the Democratic message. Now, here is the Epstein thing no one thinks is a big deal. Okay, that everyone explains away, right, Robert? It means nothing. Here's the Democratic tack. This is John Ossoff, correct?
Oh, yeah. It's verbatim, basically.
Trump promised to expose the Epstein class. Instead, he covered up for them. Trump was supposed to fight for the working class. Instead, he's closing rural clinics and hospitals to cut taxes for George Soros and Elon Musk. Trump promised to end the wars. Instead, he starts more wars for oil and foreign nations. This is Ossoff speaking before we even started the Iran war. Okay. And that's what it's like. He knew, we all knew because the lobby was there. Everyone knew that they were pushing this, and Ossoff clearly gambled that Trump was going to cave to Netanyahu. Look at the Republicans. Before I go to total, look at Republicans. Only 31% strongly disagree, despite the fact that Donald Trump's name is actually in this statement. Another 20%, or about 10 points less, that's it, strongly agreed. 21% somewhat agreed. So over 4 in 10 Republicans actually agreed with this, while only 47, less than a majority, disagreed, combined. So 42% overall strongly agreed with what Ossoff said. Another 19% somewhat agreed. Only 17% strongly disagreed. Only 12% disagreed further. So guys, that's not close. The Democratic message is much stronger. It's much more appealing this time around. And you're telling me that is why months and months and months and months ago, almost basically a year ago, Robert and I were like, Republicans are going to be depressed because here you have them conflicted. They may tell NBC that 100% of them support the Iran war because they want to sound like they do support Trump. But in truth, they don't support what's going on. Many of them don't, and they'll just not vote, which is why we're seeing what we're seeing. And I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but even in Indiana, Robert, you're talking about a combined 90,000 votes. We're not talking about this huge group of people that came out mandated, and by the way, there were incumbents who went down in races Donald Trump didn't even endorse in, so it was just more of them being mad. You know what I mean?
Well, the key factor there is that within Republican primaries, where Trump is strongest. So the reason why Massey has an uphill battle in Kentucky is because it's a closed primary, and it's an early registration primary. In other words, you have to register months and months in advance. So no independents, no registered independent, nobody who's unregistered, is not registered Republican, can vote. If it was an open primary, Massey wins it in a walk. If it was a general election, and these were the top two, say in a runoff, California or Louisiana style, old Louisiana style, Massey wins with ease. Massey wins, but you got up to half of the or more of the electorate is going to be a bunch of boomer cons that like Fox News.
Yeah.
And and in that electoral environment, Trump can win. Now if Trump were to win that, if the Massey were to lose that, Trump
victory.
Trump will get the wrong message from it and all the rest, because here's the thing. If Trump loses that, it shows how much trouble he is in. That in a boomer con electorate with a locked in voter base that could only be registered Republicans from months before in a place like Kentucky, if he can't even win that primary with all the money and media and endorsement power against Massey, then he's completely cooked. That's what the Massey race means. Winning getting Massey defeated is not a sign of anything significant for Trump going forward. Losing it is what is significant. If he were to lose and Massey were to win, that shows you just how bad the foundation has fractured for them. Now,
but ironically, that would help save the coalition. If Massey loses, all right, I don't know how else to try to explain this to people. Massey's not just a representative now from Kentucky 4. He's a nationally recognized representative figure that is representative of the libertarian and Maha wing of the coalition, and the last few people who actually are seen as willing or able to stand up to the Epstein class. That will be catastrophic to the Republican coalition if the message is there is no room for someone like that, which is what Trump ran on in 24. If that's the message, then, dude, we might as well go back to Mitt Romney. You might as well go back to Mitt Romney. What the hell? What else is what are they doing here? What's the point?
It's potential. They're on an extinction as a political party path.
It is.
That's why the smart folks will want Massey to win. Now we go back and look at the Senate map. Not that Trump won't misconstrue it all. As we pointed out, the messaging, the voters already believe there is a major scandal in the Epstein scandal. The voters already believe, already dislike the Iran war and blame Trump for the cost of living impact of that war. And the voters are unhappy about the cost of living and the economy. Record low consumer sentiment in the University of Michigan survey. Very low in a wide range of other consumer surveys, including Richard surveys. Trump has the lowest approval rating in a range of, including Gallup, on the cost of living of any president ever. So if that continues into the fall, then you've got a very Democratic-friendly environment, and that tends to swamp the state proclivities that otherwise might be a barrier against such a tsunami. So, well, as you pointed out,
folks, let me just take us from the guy who was talking. Guys, by 2018, a lot of the Russia collusion hoax was already falling apart. There was already a good section of the electorate who, number one, didn't care. They just didn't care. And number two, there were already holes because of, thank God, people like Molly Hemingway and others. They were slowly but surely chomping away at it. It's not a similar situation here. It's not. It's like, that hurt. I do think it hurt. And I bring up Dana Rohrabacher all the time. I do think it hurt some people on the peripheral guys, but by that time in 18, that wasn't it. That's not what was costing him. It was the healthcare betrayal is what hurt them in so many of those other races, and what hurt them with women, particularly,
especially in the House. But for those that have forgotten, he added Senate seats in 20. That was one of my bets that I put out, was that Republicans would win at least 2 Senate seats, and they did. That was a 2-to-1 bet in the prediction markets. So, the election markets over in Europe. So if we go back and look at that map, where else can Democrats pick up? And here, there's some fundamental mistakes taking place. One is, they look at Alaska, they look at Nebraska, they look at Iowa, they look at these double-digit Trump wins, and they think these can't be competitive. They look at Texas, they look at Florida, they look at South Carolina, they look at Mississippi. They say, hey, these are all double, Montana, huge Trump wins, so they can't be competitive. 2 factors with that. One, in these past big swing election cycles, we've seen swings up to 40 points. Like Colorado, 1974, the Republican senator who won in 1968 won by 18 points. In 1974, lost by 18 points. 36-point swing. So those that think these swings just can't happen have not studied the history of the U.S. Senate elections in these kind of cycles, number one. Number two, much of the Texas and Florida edges were all built on massive infusion of Hispanic voters. Those Hispanic voters have been off the train ever since the summer of 2025. They're an anti-war group. They're an exposed scandal group. They actually want mass deportations. Trump is walking that back as we speak. So these are voter groups that in every election, special election, regular election, local election, statewide election, doesn't matter what it is, they have been moving 40 to 50 points away from the Trump 24 margins and are now more Democratic than in some cases they have ever been before. So that the whole redistricting of Texas and Florida in the House is premised on Hispanic voters maintaining Trump 2024 margins. I think that's not going to work. But translating to the Senate, it means Texas is up for grabs. It means Florida is up for grabs. Then you go to the farmer states with an anti-war history like Iowa. You go to anti-war libertarian type states like Alaska, a state that, to Richard's point, if they see Massey go down, they're going to be even more antagonistic in libertarian-leaning areas towards the Republican brand. And in Alaska, the Republican incumbent has been losing in pretty much every survey that's been done. It's a hard state to
didn't
pull.
even think about Alaska, the impact with that. I didn't even think about Alaska. Oh, my God.
It's just another place where they've just burned every bridge known to man to destroy their own base. So, and again, all Democrats need to do, they may not even need to with Ohio, Maine, and North Carolina, is just pick up one of these. And then let's take a look. I remember there were people that were all over me because I said Nebraska is going to be one of those states that nobody sees coming that could easily be a surprise Democrat or non-independent technically, but is going to vote with the Democrats in the caucus pickup. And I guess, did they not go back and look at Nebraska the last time this guy ran? Last time, I think it was Osborne, this independent ran. He ran 16 points ahead of Trump's margin. Against the Republican ran 16 points behind in margin. So Nebraska was already within single digits with a very Trump-friendly electorate. Now remove that, Nebraska could easily flip, and he's dead even in a bunch of surveys that have been published in Nebraska. Montana, you got your own
trying to
disaster.
find it now. Yeah,
but Montana just had a Democratic senator and tester for forever. I mean, how can people think, oh, Montana could never vote Democrat? What world are these people living in? Do they not just see how Tester won election after election, even in some difficult cycles? So absolutely Montana. And then look at Kansas. They've got some stronger candidates running. And you know who almost went down in 1974, who had won by 20 plus points in his prior elections? A senator from Kansas known as Bob Dole.
Yeah, he almost got defeated. Yeah.
He only won by 2 points. He eked it out by 2 points. And it was the only reason why Republicans were completely wiped out that cycle was because they won one race by half a point, another race by 0.2 points, another one by 0.1 points, and Kansas by 2 points. The only other reason they won is Javits in New York, and I think it's Schweitzer in Pennsylvania. What did they run as? Now, this is the template if you're Husted in Ohio, or you're Collins in Maine, or you're Sullivan in Alaska, or you're Hinson in Iowa. There's a lot of reasons why some of these people can't run this way. But how did those people that held up in a cycle that they should have lost, how they hold up? They held up by running against their own party's incumbent. That's how. The Pennsylvania Senate candidate, a Republican, was endorsed by the AFL-CIO. He was on Nixon's enemies list. He had called for Nixon to resign before Nixon resigned. He had campaigned against the war. Javits in New York made the Ramsey Clark, who tried to run a folksy campaign, taking small donations, capping his donations. He made him both the pro-war and anti-war candidate in the worst possible way, at the worst by tying him to LBJ and a whole bunch of things. So they ran smart campaigns that muddied the water on scandal issues, muddied the water on the economic issues, and usually ran against the incumbent of their own party. Like if Collins is serious, she'd be finding excuses to come up with public confrontations with Trump on issues like the war, on issues like Epstein. But she's not, because she's neck deep in that old Yankee establishment. This is why Paxton has a better chance in Texas than Cornyn. This is why Lynch has a better chance in South Carolina in the general than Graham, because these people can't, and they're uniquely and unusually vulnerable. So not only do I think it is more likely, I think it's 85% chance Democrats take the Senate, even without Murkowski flipping over.
Yeah, okay, good.
And I was just say, I think that if I were to put a median set of seats, I think it's 52.5 is the median Democratic seats I have. I think there's a 50-50 chance they have 53 or more. And it would not, I would say it's 15%. They go as high as 57 or more, because that's how many, when you looked at the history of these elections and you dug in, you realized incumbency, if it becomes a big economy or war or scandal or all three combined election, and according to the data that Richard just pulled before this war blew up, it already was going in that direction, then usually almost all the seats that are anywhere within close at all have any history of voting for the Democrat, for the outside party, the party outside the White House, that 2/3 or more swing. Because when we were doing those 30%, 40% seats swung, what I did factor in is, what if you only looked at the seats that had voted within single digits for the opposite party within the prior 8 years? When you looked at that, the number of seats that swung to the party outside of the White House was 60% or higher. So that's what you have in Iowa. That's what you have in Alaska. That's what you have in Florida, in Texas. Because people forget 2018 was very close in Texas, very close in Florida. So you look at those historic norms, it could be a bloodbath.
Yeah, let me just add, because we have some like relatively recent news. So the Supreme Court rejected the liberal attempt to try to stop Alabama. Now we'll see what they do, but Alabama could, dude. And again, Robert and I don't want the Democrats to take the House. We don't want them to take the Senate. We don't want any of this shit to happen. You have to redistrict, and I mean to the point where I don't really care if people are screaming and hollering. It's unfair. Caroline Wren just tweeted before after the ruling. She's totally right. They have to go 7-0. They're in this kind of trouble. Like this. Why is it important to be honest about the state of things? Because you have to make these Republican lawmakers understand that they're facing an electoral environment that they have never seen before. Many of them have never seen this before. And by the way, the only ones who get it now are the ones who have been defeated in some of these other specials and off cycles that we've seen in 2025. There were a ton of people in Pennsylvania who didn't want to hear me. And I tried, guys. I was like, I was like, listen, I understand that you've held that office for 10 years. I understand you've held that office for 16 years. I understand you're going to lose. You have to do more than this. They didn't, and they got creamed. And they're in Georgia. I tried telling them those commissioners are all getting wiped out. No, they're not. Stop being a panicking. Okay, they lost every single one, including ones they have never lost before. 35, 40-point swings. Massive. So even with this, let's just stop. Let's put aside Alabama, because now Democrats also, they went, because after losing Alabama, I'm sure Mark Elias was ready with the brief, Robert. He ran to the Supreme Court just a little bit ago, and he's asking the Supreme Court to reinstate redistricting, which I don't think they'll do, because I was stunned. That was a big shocker. I didn't expect the Virginia State Supreme Court to strike down redistricting. It's clearly unconstitutional in the state law. It's clearly unconstitutional.
Well, yeah, I
but
thought it was
they're
50
elected by, the legislature.
Yeah, I thought it was a 50-50 odds that they would, but that's just because of the clear nature of the law. Your skepticism was based on the fact that
liberals are crazy.
Or do exactly what they're doing right now, which is they're threatening to remove them all overnight by imposing a retirement age overnight and putting a whole new seven judges.
Watch, Robert. They'll do it. Robert, they'll try. You watch, So like they'll try. I don't think the Supreme Court will do it, but let's just put aside Alabama for now, because a lot of this was already like rosy projections baked into the cake. Republicans, now that the VRA Section 2, racial discrimination is more accurate way of saying it. Racial gerrymandering, is unconstitutional. Republicans are currently up 8 after really looking like they were going to be down 3. Redistricting was going to backfire 3 seats. Let's take the most rosy projection that, like, Tyler, and I love Tyler, he's a great guy over at TPUSA. Let's take the most rosy projection and get to a place where Republicans only need to win 3 toss-up districts to hold the House. Good fucking luck. You're not, are we seriously pretending like we have any shot at winning those swing seats right now? Without a course correction, you're not winning a single battleground district at all. We are looking at Trump plus 10 districts that are in deep shit right now. I don't think people understand this. So we need them to, because we need them to understand that regular, like what you thought you were going to do, what Indiana did, they screwed us so bad. We need to make it so we lose the House vote by 10 points and still keep the House, guys. That's what we're looking at right now. I mean, that's how bad it is, Robert. And by the way, it's so funny. The other day, well, when we came out with our D+11, right? These people were throwing like RMG in my face. Like, oh, but they only have a Democrat +3 or +5. And I'm just like rolling my eyes as if like, when did Scott Rasmussen become a trendsetter? Sure as hell in what, a week, 2 weeks? Now he's Democrat +9. Another one was Democrat +10. Everyone is starting to see it really is this bad out here. So that's what we're going to need. We're going to need them to redistrict to the point where we can get killed at the House vote, because what you said before matters. If it stays to like a parallel 22 map, and we're looking at, remember guys, Republicans won the House popular vote by over 3 points, and Vance only outran it in Ohio by about 3 points. That's it. So if Democrats are going to win by 2 or more, Ohio's done. It's gone. You understand? Like it's gone. So if they take the Senate, I'm saying we need to gerrymander to protect the House, because the Senate is probably gone. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is how, if the electorate's going to be, a national mood that's D+10, guys, or even D+6 or 8, you're in a lot of trouble, because Sherrod Brown won last time in a D+8 and he won by 5. So, I mean, I think this is, it's that serious. I just want to tone down the celebratory, like it's great, and these were legitimate victories at the Virginia State Supreme Court, at of course the U.S. Supreme Court. These are legitimate victories, but they don't mean anything unless you understand what time it is and you take advantage of those rulings to the point where it actually matters. Because if you save it until after and oh my God, look at how bad we got thrashed. That not only did we not win those 3 battleground districts, we wound up losing 15 seats we didn't even see coming, which can happen. It's happened to Democrats. It's happened to Republicans. By the way, in 18, Kentucky 5 is a great example. They had no idea Kentucky 5 was close. Why? Because Trump won Kentucky 5 by a huge amount. So they had no clue. Next thing you know, Amy's right up. She didn't win, but she was right up his ass. That was a low single point race. We can't afford swings like that this time, because if we do, everything Texas did, guys, was based off of Trump's performance. So you're looking at all of those Hispanic districts that everyone has leans Republican right now. There's like all of these districts that people, look, Cook Politico and all these other guys, they are in a position where they can't afford to overstate Democratic support again. I have to repeat this over and over. So it doesn't matter if they forecast that Democrats take the House, but they only take it by like 3 or 5 seats, and then Democrats wind up winning by 35 seats. They're still going to say, oh, okay, we did well. And oh, by the way, we actually understated Democratic share. So by 2028, which is going to be the real prize, they'll be saying, well, we're not overstating the Democrats' chances here. We're not overstating their performance expectations, because look what we did in 26. This is what they did in 18. And they pretended like they fixed everything in 18. So by the time 20 came around and they had Biden +17s in Wisconsin, they were arguing that we couldn't refute it because they did so well in 18, even though they really didn't. It's the same game. They're playing the same game. And I just can't understand how people are using this other garbage to throw in our face when this is something like, I don't, pattern recognition, guys, get your skills up. All right. That's the sign of IQ, by the way. You got no pattern recognition skills, you got a problem. All right. It means you're pretty stupid. Like, I'm getting to the point where it's May 11th, bro. Like, May 11th. There's not a whole lot of time to get people to understand what time it really is. And this is what needs to be done in order to make sure that we're not buried. Because if they take both, Robert, they're going to get the White House in 28. Then they're going to have the census. They'll be in control of the Senate. Like, this is what we gave up with this stupid war. This is what we sacrificed with this stupid war. And I just don't see. So the point is, well, Rich, what can be done about it? We've already told you a million times what can be done about it. What we're telling you right now is that if there's no course correction and we keep hearing shit like this, hold on. We keep hearing shit like this. There's nothing that's going to save you. Redistricting is not going to save you. The Senate, the Senate map and its cyclical strength is not going to save you. This can't fly anymore. You ready, Robert?
Deals for millions of Americans, and do you believe that the most favored nation drug deals are the Republicans' golden ticket to the midterms?
I think the Republicans should walk away with the midterms. Now, typically, whoever is president, they vote the other way. Nobody knows this.
Wrong.
Do we have a psychiatrist in the group? Nobody knows why, because I think we've had the best president. A lot of people have said, even some radical left lunatics have said that we've had the best presidency, the best first year of any president. Look,
Zero radical left-wing lunatics have said that. Zero. Can you name a single left-wing lunatic that has said that? Look, we just got to cut this shit. Like this, there's no more time for this. Like, oh, well, you know, typically. No, not typically. Starting in the modern era with the 1994 Republican Revolution. That's this huge, you know, empirical track record that everyone keeps talking about incumbent midterms. It is not true that this is some kind of inevitable, you know, pendulum swing. This is the result of you not keeping your campaign promises. I can go from, and I have done entire shows on every damn cycle. What did that incumbent party do that you know, earned the fire, you know, or the ire of the American voter? What did they do that pissed them off? It's because the system is captured and you don't govern as you run. And it's just Trump in his first term. I think he actually, you know, did the best he could to do, you know, to counter that. But Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell wouldn't let him. And that wasn't on Trump at all. The healthcare betrayal did them in, and that was it. That's like the single issue that cost them the House. The collusion shit, you know, whatever, we can talk about that. I mean, the economy was red hot in 2018. It didn't save them because voters were pissed that they didn't keep their damn promises. We can go to this idea like, you know, we're just going to give it up. And you know what? We should win because I'm the greatest, but it's just some inevitable, like, you know, natural law that's going to cost us control. Bro, I'm tired of hearing that shit. Like, do you or do you not want to keep control of Congress? Do you or do you not want to keep control of this government? Do you or do you not want to prevent Republicans from getting killed in public like Charlie Kirk? Do you or do you not want to prevent an economic collapse? Like, you sold out to a lobby. That's what happened here. So recognize it. The whole damn country knows, right the ship and move forward, because without a course correction, that map's going to get ugly. I don't give a damn what you want to point at. You literally have zero data points on your side. Zero. Play devil's advocate for me for a second. What do they have going for them, empirical or otherwise? Like, is there anything? Because, I mean, we could talk about the RNC's announcement last week about this huge ground game and how much they're going to spend. They didn't hire any of the people who actually did all the work in 24, bro. They didn't hire anybody. They didn't hire any one of the three groups that did the majority of the work and were most successful in 2024. So I have zero faith in that little effort. Is there any empirical data point, anything that suggests that people who are trying to course correct, do they have anything on their side? And you know, this panicking argument, right? They have no data points. I can't think of a single one.
Well, really what they're relying upon is a different electoral environment. So if you believe that voters are going to be happy and satisfied come November with the cost of living, with the economy, in terms of with jobs, with the accessibility and affordability of housing and healthcare and groceries and gas and everyday items, if you think that the Iran war will be either very popular or completely forgotten by that time, and if you believe that the Epstein scandal will not be seen as a scandal of any consequence, you have to believe those three things. And then the technocratic might matter. Then you having a money advantage might matter. Then a conventional political consulting class campaign might matter. Then having a favorable Senate map might matter. Then having favorable redistricting shift in your direction might matter. But a mutual friend of ours was looking up, does redistricting give such a technical edge that it can counter cycle election? And what did he find? No, it doesn't. No. That in order for any of those factors to matter, to have the money edge, the media edge, that's the mutual friend. Yes, indeed. Down there in Ted Carroll's basement. But you need that But when there's a swamp, it was like what we saw in November of 2025. That's what, woke me up because I didn't see it coming at the scale it was coming in 2025. But when, the long-standing town supervisor in Pennsylvania,
Yep.
it was people who had ran superior campaigns, who had excellent incumbent records, who were well-liked and very favorable, whose opponent was weak and unlikable, still got swept out of office for races that had never even been partisan before. Of that kind in the modern era. And we saw it happen. And then we saw it keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And we warned that if Trump went into Iran, it would cause economic and political problems at home. And if he didn't reverse course and course correct on the Epstein scandal, and he didn't find new positive populist messages on food freedom, medical freedom, financial freedom, political freedom, if he didn't do that, instead he went the opposite direction on many of those issues.
He went the opposite way, bro.
Then the electoral environment was going to be a disaster come the fall. So for those that believe Republicans can hold the House or Republicans can hold the Senate, fundamentally what you need to believe is that the economy is going to be great. That people are going to perceive the economy is great. They're going to perceive housing and healthcare and gas and groceries as more affordable. They're going to perceive the Iran war as a success, or at least not a negative. They're going to perceive the Epstein scandal as not an issue. You need to believe they're going to believe all of that, because if they don't believe all of that, Republicans stand almost no chance of holding the House and the Senate.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what exactly is what's the story here? What's the story?
I think Trump's in his own delusional la-la fantasy land world. I mean, he's told repeatedly Iran has at least 70% of its weapons stash still intact. And he goes out and tells people it's all gone. He's been told repeatedly Iran's regime is more hardline, the public than before, and will not crack. He comes out and tells people just the opposite. He's been told repeatedly by the intelligence community, by Tulsi Gabbard, by the Pentagon, that in fact, if you give a bunch of guns to Iranians, they'll be waiting to use them against Americans and Israelis. They're not using them to overthrow the regime. The regime has more rally around the flag public support. In fact, Alistair Crook is saying it's the second Iranian revolution, because the young population that was skeptical of the regime is now rallying to the regime in defense against the Israeli-American empire, as they see it.
Which, by the way, was what the war games suggested. That's
over and over again. The Pentagon
Joe and I know this intimately. I'm telling you, this is what it suggested. You look, guys, if you didn't like Joe, if you're right wingers, if you're Trump supporters out there, okay, you didn't like Joe Biden, right? What if the Ayatollah killed Joe Biden?
Right.
How would you feel? Would you be like, damn, thanks, bro, I hated that guy? Or would you be like, you motherfucker, how dare you kill my president? That's what you would do. Okay.
What if David bombed a little girls' school here in the United States and killed 160 American little girls going to school? Exactly. What if they triple tapped him in order to get all those deaths?
That's an even better point.
So he's been told all of these things about Iran. He's been told the economy's not going to collapse. They have full defenses. They have anti-air defenses. That's why our planes went down and we had to rescue people out of them. He's been told the regime is not going to collapse. He's told the regime is completely unified. It is not split between some fictional, fabricated, moderate group and the lunatic group. These are the second revolution at the top and at the bottom, people. They're more united than they've ever been. So that's what he's been told by our own intelligence community. And by our own Pentagon, it said military options will not solve the problem. They will not open up the strait. They will not lead to regime change. They will not lead to economic collapse. They will not lead to surrender, but they likely will lead to counter and retaliatory attacks that could sink our economy into a depression for a decade. And yet he keeps repeating the exact opposite, even though he's been told by literally every single person around him, the vice president, the secretary, even the secretary of state. Now, maybe not Secretary of Death.
Rubio's going to bail. Rubio's going to bail on him, bro. Watch.
Ratcliffe has told him this. Why did people think the Pentagon and the CIA and even Vance's office are leaking this stuff? Because they know that Trump is just not listening. He lives in a fantasy world of his own making. And I mean, I was going to ask you.
But on the election, Robert.
Do you think he believes? Well, I think he believes he's going to win the midterms. He's going to win the House. He's going to add Senate seats. I think this is in his head.
I don't know if he's spiraled since then, but I'm telling you, particularly the month that our group was like, it was a revolving door shit over at the White House. he flatly, like dead stare, we're going to get destroyed. So at that time, and I'm, he's probably getting mad at this, dude. I've been getting warnings, shots across the bow, bro. Like, they're on me. Did you hear how I started the show? I was like, it always feels like somebody's watching me, because they're all over. But like, they're all over me. But I'm telling you, it's just true. He knew it then. I don't know what because he's like, I don't know, man. He sounds different now. He sounds like something is scared, bro. I hate to say it.
I mean, the best
Somebody
explanation I have.
When it was yesterday? No, it was Friday. He said something, and so I texted her, and I'm like, "Are you there? Like, are you? What is going on?" And she's like, "He's lost his fucking mind."
Yes, I mean,
like,
that's exactly
I'm
what
like,
happened.
"Are you serious? Like, are you serious?" And she said, and I quote, hold on, I'm gonna get this, bro. I'm gonna get this quote for you. Hold on, you're gonna love this. Come on. It's like, where is it? Come on, it's up here. Come on. Where is it? Come on. Because there's so much complaining here. And I don't blame her. I mean, she's just really, it sucks. He's lost his mind. That was it. He's lost his mind. That's it. Verbatim.
That's what
he's lost
we've
his
been
mind.
hearing. That's why the Pentagon is leaking. That's why the intel community is leaking. That's why even Vance, who has avoided leaking tremendously as a matter of respect to the president and to try to maintain some discipline, that's why even his office is leaking about him trying to do a deal with the Qataris, etc. It's because Trump is operating in his own fictional. He thinks he's going to go to China and lecture Xi. He's got to go to China and beg Xi to give us the rare earths we need to replenish all of our weapons that we just wasted on this dumb war. So I think he really believes he's going to win the House. He's going to win the Senate. I think what he said today wasn't just braggadocio. I mean, like the idea that nobody knows why people. Well, first of all, you don't have to get wiped out in the House. You don't have to get wiped out in the Senate. The only time people get wiped out in both the House and the Senate, and definitely in the Senate, is when you screw up the economy, you screw up a war, you screw up a scandal. Trump's managed to do all three, but he pretends he hasn't done any of the three. He pretends the economy is great. He's got those nitwits out there spinning. Hey, everybody's adding to their credit cards. Woohoo! That's not a good sign.
Some of this? We actually do have a ton of economic data, guys, that we really should go over.
The core economics from the perspective of the ordinary voter is getting worse, not better. And this doesn't even deal with.
Where do you want to start? We have some. You
can just throw up any chart, and I'll be able to identify.
Okay, let's start with the 1% and the middle class. Bannon and I have talked about this a lot in the past, like over the years. And one of the big points of anger, both Ben and I believe, is that you had somebody like Barack Obama, hope and change, and that always complaining about how it's unfair. This isn't fair. That's not fair. The rich, their fair share. Meanwhile, under Obama, the wealth gap was blowing up. And then we would get to a point where Trump, for a very short period of time, but especially before COVID, but in Trump's first term, he began to do something that we didn't believe was possible so quickly, but he did it, and it was huge for him. He began, and MAGA, he began to actually shrink the wealth gap. And then unfortunately, with the CARES Act, he blew it up. All right. He blew it wide open, and it hasn't come back since.
Was there a congressman who said the CARES Act was a bad idea?
That would be Thomas Massey from Kentucky's 4th Congressional District. He's the only one, dude. Not the only one left anyway. But look at this, man. You can actually see where Trump began to stop. He arrested it real quick, and then it went back. But look at it. Oh my God. Look at the middle class percentage of wealth versus the top one, Robert.
And this is why they got to quit yipping about the stock market. One, what happens when it goes down?
GDP.
But GDP, exactly, GDP, all this. These are numbers that all you're telling people, especially when you're asking for $1 billion for a ballroom, is that you're out of touch. You're the billionaire caricature that Democrats and the media tried to make you out to be. You're becoming that in real time by saying the economy is great, everybody's doing great, it's all awesome. When today, for the first time in modern American history, the top 1% have more wealth than the middle class combined. And there's really two things that have happened since the global financial crisis. There's a certain path that people were on, trajectory, that got reversed by the global financial crisis. And then the second time that happened is COVID.
Yeah.
So to your point, that if you track like real disposable personal income of middle income families, for example, it's on a different, it's never caught up to where it was on its trajectory before the global financial crisis. And now it's happened all over again since COVID.
Right.
And what Trump people don't appreciate is he was elected to reverse that.
This is what he was elected to stop.
Correct.
The forgotten man and woman, ladies and gentlemen.
He was elected to be Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack.
In Caddyshack.
Yeah, or Jackie Gleason. That's who he was elected to be, not to be one of the guys who gets in and becomes the ultimate gatekeeper and protector of the country club.
And wait until Max Blumenthal, and God help Republicans if this stuff starts to drop before, and Fox News gets weak kneed, because if he doesn't persecute the war the way that they want him to persecute the war, or the Israel agenda, period, because Turkey's next. If he doesn't do that, they're going to try to drop. And I understand there are some people who say this is why he is acting the way he is, but that's just not a good enough excuse for me or the American public. But if he doesn't do it the way that they want him to, they'll turn on him with the reporting that you see from Max Blumenthal and like Matt Stoller and others, because that stuff in the first term, they would have been all over already. They're holding that powder. They're keeping it dry, and they're holding it, man. They're holding their fire until they think that they take the kill shot and they can get rid of him. But like Fox News, all his new little friends, they'll bail on him in a heartbeat once that happens. And looking at like the underlying conditions for the average American, they will have zero incentive to stay with him. And this time he will be removed. I'm telling you. Look at inflation, wages, cumulative, which, God, we have to learn how to label graphics better here. I don't think I did this one. I'm not going to spell it out loud, but geez, can we put the E at the end of that word? Look at what you wrote. She probably did that on purpose to mess with me. Can you see it in the thing? Can you see what it's labeled? Bro, come on.
Basically, what this is tracking is that since both the global financial crisis and then again since the COVID pandemic and the lockdowns and the CARES Act and all the policies related to it, inflated even worse by the sanctions on Russia and the Iran war, is the cost of living keeps outstripping wage growth. Yeah. So real wages are not, in other words, your ability with your paycheck to pay for the same things you paid last week keep getting worse. That your ability to go in and buy groceries, buy gas, afford healthcare, afford housing keeps getting worse and worse and worse year after year after year. This is what Trump had reversed in his first term, but then they thought he would reverse it in his second term, but he's not. In fact, right now he's making it worse.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in fact, right now, what it's suggesting is that we're headed towards the levels it was during May and June of in 2022 of Biden's tenure. And for people who say, but Rich, Democrats were able to do better in 22 than people expected. And that, by the way, they didn't fall prey to the thing that Trump's like acting like is inevitable. Right, guys, because Democrats understood the nature of the realignment better. And they understood that it would really mean, what did it mean? Their base was more likely to come out, period. They may have the smaller one now, but I don't know about now. But they had the smaller base, but that in a midterm cycle or lower propensity cycle, that would favor them. So they would be all right. And if they focused on the areas that they needed to focus on instead of like everywhere, carpet, bombing everything, if they focused on, more micro targeting of where they needed to put their resources, that they would be able to use that. They'd be able to leverage that. That is, in fact, what they did when Republicans were engaging in like McCarthy and like self-sabotage of like people like J.R. Majewski. You screwed him in the primary. You messed him up in the general. All of these people. You nominate these other losers. You tell John Gibbs he can't answer any abortion questions or talk about inflation in anything else but generic terms. You don't give them any money because you think you're going to replace them with a seat in Rhode Island and like in Connecticut. I mean, they were delusional. They self-sabotaged themselves. McConnell sabotaged Walker in Georgia. He was freaking 1 point away from closing the deal. 1 point away. No runoff, nothing. A little bit more for Herschel Walker. $10 million more in Georgia for Herschel Walker, and they were winning that race. Blake Masters, another one. They gave him nothing. He was completely wrecked by Mark Kelly's, how much was it? 50-1 advantage or something. I mean, this is the thing too. They're all talking about this money, Robert, and they still don't understand. We see it in the elections in Texas that just transpired. One of our longtime watchers ran for office, and he did incredibly well with what he had. But I mean, the Democrats have these third-party dark money groups, and Republicans are still counting RNC cash on hand. It's like they don't understand how this works. But in any event, yeah, I mean, this what I'm saying. I guess the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that Republicans simply don't have the margin for error that Democrats are able to play with. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If we look, you brought up sentiment before too, Robert. I want to show this one. This is real average weekly earnings year over year, seasonally adjusted, against the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. Go ahead. I want to bring this one.
So, like, people are wondering, like, people say, well, this is propaganda. People that are saying that the economy's not good, or
panicking,
victims of not knowing the way the world, that they just don't understand their own bank accounts. They don't understand their own checkbooks in the old days. I mean, I think my grandkids not even going to know what the word checkbook means, but that they don't know how to balance those books. In fact, you find an incredible correlation between real weekly earnings. So this is, if you look at how much a person's getting paid, the median worker, versus how much the cost of living for essential goods has gone up. And if real wages are growing faster than the cost of living, that consumer sentiment number is in the green. It's very positive. When, on the other hand, it ever turns negative, consumer sentiment turns negative. Voters are actually very simple. They're not relying on social media. They're not relying on propaganda. They're looking at their weekly bank accounts. And if their bank account's bleeding, they're saying the economy is not good. If their bank account's looking green, then they say the economy is good and it's in the green. That is a strict correlation. And the problem is right now, and it's getting worse, is that the real wages are falling further and further and further behind the cost of living. And Biden was able to partially turn that around in 2022 by the cost of living coming down going into November. Everything suggests it's going to be going in the opposite direction.
Going in the wrong direction. And let's talk about why, too. One of the big things hitting the CPI right now, folks, of course, is the price of energy, because he started a fucking war the year of a midterm, which is like nobody's ever gotten away with this, just so you guys understand. And what Robert just said is about perception. All right. How do they gauge whether the economy is doing well or not? Do you think they're looking at GDP? You think they're looking at the stock market? They're looking at their bank accounts. Do they have enough money? It's why the total family income sub-indicator in our index is such a big deal. It's so important. This is what they're seeing. And we've actually seen a lot of people do two things on the Trump side, right? On social media. They're arguing, one, that gas is just not that bad and it's actually coming down. It's been coming down because the price of the barrel of oil is, crude, guys. WTI, as in the ticker, all right, coming down does not immediately or sometimes at all translate into gas at the pump coming down. And number two, retailers cannot price gouge. I'm so sick of seeing this shit. It was spread first. I saw it by Bill Mitchell, and then a bunch of other idiots have latched onto it. There is almost no spread between retailers and we can guess they have like no margin. All right. This idea, Robert, like that they even could price gouge it just shows you how ignorant these people are to the things they claim to know and talk about and have a great enough understanding of, to be able to speak about with authority and to be able to make statements like that for followers, tons of followers that follow them and look to them for advice. And I mean, you just say something that stupid, I have zero respect for you. They can't price gouge. They can't. All right. It's not possible. But this is what gas is doing. And this is, going back to what Matt said, you get to file your taxes. You get a tax refund. If you did, I paid a check. I wrote a check this year. I don't know what the hell anyone's talking about, but I wrote a check. I wrote a check every year though. But it doesn't matter. I would still say the economy's good if it's no problem. And I'm looking in the bank account. I feel like no problem. I'll happily write this check. this is not going to do well for people's bank accounts. Matt's nailed it. You get that income refund if you're lucky once a year. You're going to the gas tank damn near every day, and you're putting that. Look, I just bought that new Wagoneer, brother. You know how much it costs to fill up that new Wagoneer? Now I'm okay and I can do it, but you know, I'm not loving it. I'm not over here rolling in it like Scrooge and McDuck, but like, you know, but other Americans are suffering badly. I got us covering Alaska. Look at Alaska where Look at Alaska with Dan Sullivan's got to run for re-election. 519. Look at that. Look at Ohio, 481. Look at Michigan, 480. Come on, dude. Good luck.
This is regular unleaded,
yes.
Not the diesel that goes into jet fuel, that the jet fuel is a different derivative of.
Yeah.
The diesel that all the farmers depend on. The diesel that all the truckers that transport all the products depend on. So all of these costs are not just taking money right now out of working people's pockets. It's about to lead to higher cost in the entire supply chain. The second part is Trump. Here's another place where Trump is completely delusional. So there's a bunch of his supporters that actually believe is delusional nonsense, that this is 4D chess, that closing down the straits is great, that now they have to come to America to get oil and gas, and now we're going to dominate the oil and gas markets. Fact number one, we are a net importer of crude oil. We net exporter of all petroleum products, but we make a form of light crude. The only place that has any productive capacity to increase is the Permian Basin, and it will take time to develop, and it's expensive to develop. It's a year to 2 years away. How is all these the one Trump was talking about? Look at all these ships coming to the Gulf. He's emptying out our own strategic reserves to send to foreign nations. Our own strategic reserves are being emptied to send to foreign nations to artificially control the global price that he's also trying to manipulate on the paper markets with the Treasury and others, and everybody and their brother knows it. And then he's out there saying, this is great. No, it's not. Emptying our reserves is not good. Our gasoline inventories are currently the lowest they have been in forever. That means all these prices you see right here are much more likely to go up, up, up than down, down, down.
Which he attacked both Biden and Obama for doing during their presidencies in an effort to try to artificially impact the price of oil. And he slammed both of them for it. And I slammed them because that's playing politics with something that is not supposed to be, up for cheap political tricks. That is supposed to be, that's true emergencies, true emergencies, and politicians play games with it. He was right to shred Biden for doing it. He was right for shredding Obama to do it. Another one is this one of Charlie's big issues, home buying. And look, how long it took me to build my own house. And now look, I built it, and fucking Roy Cooper is going to be my senator. Unbelievable. And they're going to take back, after all the hard work, they're going to take back the state Supreme Court almost certainly. Home buying intentions of U.S. adults who don't own a home. And here's the question. Based on what you know right now, do you think you will buy a home in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? Or are you unlikely to buy a home in the foreseeable future? In the next 5 years has declined, but look where it was when Trump was president the first time. Look at that shit, brother. That was like 50% of and the housing market certainly backed up Gallup's findings here. I remember before COVID, I was so thrilled because housing had still sputtered here and it wasn't as strong as the other three cylinders of the economy. And then it started to fire on all four cylinders when housing kicked around, home builder sentiment at an all-time high, new residential construction just went gangbuster. The pending home sales, existing home sales, you name it, just started. It was a beautiful thing. And then they unleashed a pathogen on the world to stop Donald Trump. That's what happened. But look, 50% now down 50%, 20 to 25. The next 10 years, guys, is 28%. So and then not for the foreseeable future is almost half. This is depressing. This is sad. That's the American dream. That is, if there's one chart that shows the American dream, that's it. Most of the middle class out there who have wealth, who are growing, wealth. This is their net worth, their house. That's like the vast majority of what they own, how much they are worth, which of course is net worth. That is it. It's the American dream is to buy your own castle, man, to have your own place. And this is just depressing. It's depressing.
And this goes back to the founding of the country. Much of the population that came here, there were some plenty of religious dissidents and others that wanted to practice their religion free of the imposition of the state. But the number one motivation for the waves of populations that came to the country over the first 2 centuries, excuse me, of our existence was variations of the homestead bills, or whether it was freed slaves, 40 acres and a mule. The idea was you'd have your piece of property that's yours, that's to provide self-sufficiency at the beginning, but now it's just a matter of pride. I've made it, a sense of security, a sense of stability, a sense of pride and honor, all of that thrown in. And now you've got a record level of people who say, I'm not going to be able to. And if you look at Zoomers and Gen Xers and millennials, Zoomers and millennials, they're like, there's no chance. Bro, I'm never going to be able to have a house. I might as well give that up. We went from 80 to 90% of young men in the 1960s already being married by the time they're 30. Yeah. So now 75 to 80 to 85% not being married by the time they're 30. Yeah. This is a disaster because what does the house relate to? It also relates to the family. The ability to have people associate the two together. I get a house, I get a family.
Yep, settle down.
Exactly. It corresponds quite easily. And that is being wiped out. And for those people forget, Trump in 2024 ran on, I'm going to restore the prosperity and the job prospects and oil and all the rest. But he also ran on, I'm going to get gas prices way down and I'm going to get housing prices way down. He said, I'm going to cut them in half. And then now he's sitting there saying, I don't want my boomers to lose their paper value of their house.
Go up.
And then pretending gas prices are down on a random weekend. Oh, gas prices are down. What are you guys talking about? I mean, it's just, it's a delusional world that he inhabits. And it's why I don't anticipate voters in a few months thinking that Trump has suddenly rediscovered Trump 2024, especially while the Iran war drags on. His ego is too big to sign a deal because he thinks everybody will say, that kind of looks like JCPOA. Yep. So he's terrified of that, which means he'll never sign a deal with Iran. Iran is not going to capitulate or surrender. That's not going to happen. So we either exit or escalate, or we drag it out with a blockade versus the strait. Either if we don't exit, the economic conditions start getting much, much worse. 20, 30% oil and gas, natural gas, urea, fertilizer, sulfur, a range of aluminum, a range of key products come out of the Gulf that have been off market. It's not like, remember, this reminds me so much of the argument we were making in March of 2020 that the Wills and all the other Will Chamberlains and all the other losers were saying.
Oh, we said Chamberlain's an idiot, bro. I'm sorry.
You cannot just turn off the economy and turn it back on.
It doesn't work that way.
It's going to have years of bad impact and effect. And that's what's going to happen here. We're going to have at least half a year. If this thing all magically solved tomorrow of major problems, we may be at risk of multiple years. If he makes the mistake of escalating and Iran retaliates, then it's going to be a decade-long set of problems. And what these voters are communicating is we can't afford a housing, we can't afford health care, we can't afford gas, we can't afford groceries. We're getting squeezed at every angle. We're dipping into whatever savings we have. We're maxing out on our credit cards. We're getting screwed from every direction. And Trump is busy protecting the people in the Epstein files, waging war for Israel overseas, trying to get $1 billion for his ballroom, and telling them it's all in their head.
Yeah, I mean, you just said something, man, that's so important, which is like the same people who repeatedly said the dumbest shit possible during the first Trump administration. The same people who then went and instead of like taking responsibility for their stupidity, jumped off the Trump train and jumped on the DeSantis train, are the same stupid people now making more stupid arguments. And by the way, it's not fair not to point out that those are Donald Trump's people now. Like, that's all there is to it. By the way, I'm not going to get too much into it. I'm just looking at, I'm going to say this, even though I hope I don't get him in trouble, but he knows this. I've told him. This is now like interesting to me. Polling all these races, right? Because we're stalled in the field everywhere. But in Massey's district, this is now the second poll in a row that we've done where Vance is like considerably more popular than Donald Trump. Does he have these core group of people that just love him and are still with him like that? Yeah. But Vance is actually more popular than the president. And that's weird because that's not supposed to happen. The vice president is supposed to be drugged down, which Vance is being drugged down by Donald Trump. Yeah, that's true. Nationally, he is. Or by the administration, the policy of the administration. Vice president is supposed to be still less popular than the president. And I mean, I can tell it's not a little bit. I said it was a little. It's not. It's like a net 10-point difference. And it's really where the intensity factor is it. So like you have more than 1 in 5 in that district, Republicans, registered Republicans who strongly disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing. You know what it is for, or favorability. I'm sorry. They have a very unfavorable opinion of him. I'll look at disapproval in a second. Dude, it's like 7% for JD Vance. 7% strongly disapprove is about the same. It's 2 points higher, actually. So
what's interesting is what's probably the best or the worst possible outcome, ironically, for Democrats could be their best possible outcome in November, which is, let's say they take 10 out of the 22 Senate seats.
Yeah.
And
oh my God.
By the way, this is just a reminder. The other ticking time bomb in all of this, especially given Trump has put so much into AI and to the stock market.
That's why I wanted to bring this up.
If you look at the average stock that's not connected to AI, it has been flat for most of Trump's term. Yeah. More of them are down than up.
This is a bubble, bro. This
is all AI. This is a bubble. All the stock bubble is AI. It's a flood into AI. Everything about it screams. Michael Burry of The Big Short is
like a .com bubble to me. It looks like we were reading in book club, Demon of Our Own Design. We just went through the .com bubble. This looks like the .com bubble. And the worst part about this, and I tried to tell Peter Navarro this at the White House, you're just going to let these guys build their data centers and whatever. Like nobody's talking to the country at all in a way that the country is expected them to kind of walk them through AI. People are terrified, you know, what it's going to do to their, not just what AI can do or will be able to do in the future, but what will it do to them and their job? But like, there are so many people who are going to be impacted by this. I mean, look at Meta laying people off for crying out loud. And these are supposed to be people who are so smart, you know, and so, you know, they're not expendable. These are supposed to be people who are so critically smart that you can't afford to lose them, these engineers. And yet they're out because, you know, Zuckerberg and company are like, we don't really need you now. AI is going to do a whole hell of a lot of this. You know, this is and people are afraid. And I tried to explain to Peter, and I like, look at this. People are afraid. And this is why when you sent this chart, I was like, ooh, because we're doing a project right now. And more people and this makes sense. At first I didn't get it, but more people than who are anticipated to be impacted directly by AI are actually concerned about the impact on the labor market from AI. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. What are they afraid of? They're not even supposed to be at risk. Well, maybe they aren't, but maybe their husband is, or their wife is, or their dad is. So the number, of course, is huge, brother. Huge. All right. And nobody is talking to them at all. Like, it's going to be all right. Don't worry. Actually, quite the opposite. You know, the Trump and his family are doing everything in their power to cash in on this. And it's like, if and when the economy is hurt by AI like this, which I don't know any expert who doesn't believe it will be, you know, like I just don't. Do you? Because I don't.
Essentially, you have two possible realities. One is AI really works as anticipated, as all this CapEx is justified in spending.
And in that instance, of people are fucked.
Yeah, exactly. That's equity markets are fine, but there's a huge labor market issue, and then there's all the data center controversies around the country. Yep. And then there's an energy crisis because AI needs massive energy. Which is, given that we're in an energy crisis,
energy crisis,
it makes it even worse. Or on the other hand, AI is a crock. AI is an exaggerated. AI is a tulip mania. In that case, the equity markets collapse.
Let's
You have
see.
a 50% plus correction. Trump keeping credit for it now gets all the accountability for it because he was dumb enough to link his reputation to it and his perceived success of his presidency to it. And the last thing holding up any degree of perceived success is gone. It's lose-lose. There's no situation in which AI is going to be a net political benefit in the near short term that I can see. If it massively improved productivity and you have the Elon Musk dream universe 10 years from now, maybe, but that ain't what they're talking about. And in terms of right now, in the next 2 to 4 years. And so it's just another example. There's these risks all over the place. There's all the supply shock risk from the Iran war. There's the AI bubble risk in the stock markets. And you combine those with undermining him politically, not doing mass deportations, having the Epstein scandal hang over him. Now the $1 billion for a ballroom. I mean, he's playing into the caricature of himself. That if you look at the Senate map, like people might say, oh, you're crazy to think 10 of the 22 Republican seats could be lost. That's 40%. That's actually the median in an election when you have recession, war, scandal, or some combination thereof.
I mean, if there's a huge wave, guys, you could lose Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Maine. Correct me if I'm missing something. Ohio,
Iowa, Alaska, some combination of Nebraska, Kansas, Montana, Texas, Florida, etc.
Montana may be a little harder now because of how he chose to run, but Texas, there's 9. That's 9. Exactly. I mean, in a wipeout we're not saying it's like, absolutely 100% going to happen. I just think that you underappreciate the probability that it could happen. You're underappreciating that. This is a bad environment. I'll go back to this again, Robbo. We've never had a generic ballot this wide. Never.
Yeah. Oh, correct.
Never. And we pulled wipeout elections, bro.
And you dive into extremely likely to vote, certain to vote, etc.
Oh my God.
Enthusiastic. It's double digits across the board. But I think the irony with all that is, if Democrats get their best case scenario in November, I think the downside, they will immediately rush in to document all the corruption scandals involving the president, pay for play schemes, for pardons, for dismissals, for fraud cases, for antitrust cases, all the unregistered lobbyists like Mike Davis, the undercutting the antitrust division, all the insider trading and insider dealing on the equity markets and the commodity markets and other markets, the sweetheart deals being cut for the Trump family in military contracts and foreign contracts. But let's say they get all that. And we already know there's at least 7 Republican incumbent senators that are already ready to vote to remove him. The irony, though, for the Democrats is if they actually remove Trump and succeed, then they give Vance the best chance to completely course correct, bring in maybe someone like a Tulsi Gabbard as vice president, and gives him a year plus to fix things for 2028. And he could potentially serve 10 years. So because he would be under the 10-year cap for the consecutive elections. So
don't threaten me with a good time, Robert.
The best hope potentially for Republicans is almost that the Democrats get their best wish in November because they're almost guaranteed to overplay their hand.
Yeah, and that's what I personally am still holding out hope that Democrats do in fact overplay their hand. And what I'm showing you right now, guys, is just the map of Tennessee. Like this is what they have to do. I would just go gangbusters. Alabama, you gotta go for 7-0. Tennessee went with 9-0. Or they're trying to propose it, right? So this is what they've got. This is what
it would be.
It did pass. It did.
I've already sued in the courts, but they ran it through.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's fine. Sorry, I didn't see it on the thing there.
I wish they would. They could have done this and kept the partisan preferences. I like geographic unity and politically, like all of Northwest Tennessee is its own kind of thing. Southwest Tennessee, geographic unity. Middle Tennessee, its own kind of thing. And they divvied this up in weird ways. The other thing they did, I think they did this deliberately. They made this the most expensive possible race to run in Tennessee. They stick you in Nashville and Memphis, or Nashville and Knoxville, or Knoxville and Chattanooga. They make it impossible. That's the establishment. Oh, we're doing this to help Republicans have an edge. We want to divvy up. You can divvy up Memphis without making it brutally expensive to run in for campaigns. They're doing that because they want to keep the donor class in control of the House seats.
That's what I was just going to tell people. Why would you do that, guys? To protect the establishment. It's that simple. Yeah. Let's get through some of the questions because I don't have a hard out, but I do have to stop roughly 8-ish. And then, so CK Dolores, which I was going to put up on the screen, but this is a rant. This is the shit that confuses me. How do Hispanics who want all illegals out reconcile voting for a party who wants all illegals legal because they're pissed at Trump? It's a hell dichotomy. That's a good point. And what it comes down to is actually simple. It's a what about me situation. And you have Hispanics who are like, yeah, I don't want illegals. And even Hispanics would like to reduce legal levels of immigration. But the bottom line is they feel like Republicans are just catering to the Epstein class and they want somebody who cares about their problems. People are hurting. So unfortunately, we forced them to choose and they chose their own pocketbook over the immigration situation. It's a great question, but that's what's going on.
And especially if they look at it and they're like, well, I'm not getting major change from Republicans anyway on immigration.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in fact, look, everyone's pissed at Massey, right? And people, the one good thing they try to argue is the immigration thing. I talked about it on a road rage earlier. And I asked Massey when we were interviewing about his positions on immigration. He actually had a really thoughtful answer that I bet a lot of conservatives didn't consider, right? But it's like, why aren't you more of a hard line? The fact of the matter is Ed Galrin's going to vote for amnesty. Watch. Yeah, watch. Are you fucking kidding me? He's bankrolled by a bunch of leftists. 3 leftist billionaires who pretend to be Republican donors. All right. All of these Israel first billionaires, guys, oh, great. We got Alan Dershowitz, but we lost Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. I wonder which one's more fucking important. All right. These guys are all for gay marriage, social stuff like that. They're all for go to Tel Aviv, homies. All right. All right. This thing is like a pride. They might as well change it to a pride flag color. And not only that, but they, of course, have Bill Ackman has long supported these organizations who have done this to our country through immigration. They have supported flooding our country, invading our country. They do not agree with you on immigration. And Ed Galrin, it doesn't matter what he personally thinks. You don't get $10 million for any congressional district, let alone Kentucky 4, and think you're going to Congress to have a say. He will be a fucking puppet with their hand up his ass, making him talk. All right. So that's what and if that's fine, if you're a Trump puppet too, if you're a cultist or whatever, and you just want to do what Donald Trump tells you do, don't bitch and complain when you have another fucking Kevin McCarthy kind of, member in the House of Representatives. He is not MAGA at all. And Trump is convinced himself because his endorsement team couldn't find anybody better. That's all there is to it. And oh, by the way, he was a COVID lockdown lover. So good luck with it. It's a joke. So do what you want to do, but don't delude yourself because I don't want to hear you bitching later. I really don't. So don't put your comments in my chat about how bad Ed Galrin is, how he funded more money for Ukraine and Israel, and he fucking voted for amnesty and this and that. I don't want to hear it. Take your crying somewhere else if you elected Galrin. I really don't want to hear it. GOP are replacing Amish voters with AI data centers. Oh my God, that's so true. Fucking Gray in these comments. He's got some great comments. By the way, Gray, you're probably going to be in the Wall Street Journal. They clipped our clip. All right. So when I answered your question, bro, you hit me up with a, hey, you got a minute to talk on the record? I'm like, what about what? So the other day you said this, and I did. You said something, and I blurted something that was kind of off the record, but I still said it. And and they asked me about it, bro. So my bad if you're in the Wall Street Journal. Good thing you got anonymity. Look at this. Here we go. Oh, wait, I can't screenshot that yet. Wait a minute. That's better. The Mark Mitchell Ransom Fund. Gagged in the basement like Pulp Fiction. Did the West Wing forecast the British? What is this, dude? Hold on. I got to send this to him. Robert, of course. Did the West Wing forecast the British election bloodbath? Did Trump notice? Listen, I think that Britain has a long, long history of basically, preceding our, situation.
Parallel, yeah,
So
they preview and parallel our own
preview,
elections.
yeah.
And what you're seeing there is the collapse of the center left and the collapse of the center right. And the populist right is surging and the populist left is surging. In the Green Party, in the case of the UK, on the populist left, and a split between the Reform and the Restore Party on the populist right. The reason why Reform may not win the next national election, but it might be Restore, is because Reform has made the mistake of staying with the Israel lobby. They did that in a special election that they lost because they were so stuck in with the Israel lobby. So if they stay Russophobic and if they stay Israel focused, then Nigel Farage will blow his chance to be the next prime minister, and you'll see Restore surge instead. But it tells you where the directions are going. It's populism, and it can go either left or right. In the UK, there is no future for the center left or center right in the Western world because their elites have failed us for too often and too long.
And this goes perfectly in with that. Are younger voters giving up on democracy? Listen, I think that right now we're definitely seeing that the right, especially the right-leaning younger coalitions, are kind of like, they're pissed, and they're a lot of them probably are not going to vote in November. I think if Massey was to lose, it would be because not enough people who are under 44 came out to vote. Here's what I would say to very angry younger people. You have the power to defeat them. It's overwhelming. In fact, all you have to do is come out. Don't let them do this to you. Don't just sit around and wait until the boomers fizzle out and die. And I'm sorry to be cruel about it, but it does. I mean, I'm talking to them, and multiple polls we're conducting right now, I have heard from younger voters, I don't think I'm going to vote until these boomers are gone. Like, and I can't, because I'm a pollster. I can't say anything, and I just listen to it, and it really like breaks my heart because I'm over here looking at the numbers, and I'm like, wait a minute though. If Gen X and down just voted at comparable rates, you would crush them. You would crush them. And look, maybe everyone hasn't heard me say this stat. I'll say it again now. 2026 was the year the first boomers started turning 80. Don't just wait. They can do massive damage to you on their way out. They have been getting everything for decades. Like, they have been put up on the pedestal, served, pampered to, pandered to, like, don't do it anymore. You have the power and the numbers to totally destroy them. Just do it. You already proved it in 24. I would say this all the time. Like 2024, Donald Trump actually did 1 point worse with 65 plus than he did in 2020, yet he won easily. How did that happen? Because millennial mind changers and first-time Gen Xers. That's how it happened. And yes, he did, of course, better with Gen Z too, Robert. But the millennial mind changers and those first-time Gen Xers coming out of the gate like that, the Gen X women are the ones who made educated women more Trumpy. It wasn't that he changed the mind of these left-wing value meters. He didn't. He just brought out other ones that were comparable to their demographic group, that were in their demographic group, but they weren't voters. They're not traditional voters. Don't let them win. You don't have to let them win. You could crush them now. You don't have to wait. And that's, by the way, the entire point of Burn It Down. Go get it. The link's in the description if you haven't bought Burn It Down. It's like Republicans they were like 2 years ago, they were better prepared to deal with this generational change that's going to come very quickly than Democrats. Yet Democrats always had something built in that gave them a little bit of an advantage if Republicans didn't stay on their toes. And Republicans went right back to governing for the stupid Fox boomer cons. And now, like the Sean Hannitys, the Mark Levins, they're not even a majority of their own coalition. I mean, of their own voting bloc. It's ridiculous that you would do this. So you could punish them. And you can punish them badly. And you can do that in the primaries, because this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about these Pyrrhic victories Republicans are going to use, these older voters in the primaries to reelect shitty establishment cucks. And then that's what Trump's going to leave the voter with. No young vote. Nobody under 65 is voting for that shit. It's not happening. They're going to get destroyed for years. And by the time they realize, oh my God, we should have really paid attention to the millennials. They're the biggest voting bloc now. By the time they realize that, they'll be way behind the ball, Robert, to like bring them over. So right now, I do worry that some nationally, particularly, you can see the depressed numbers with young voters. I tweeted about it before. It's like they're just done, dude. They're
I
done.
think you have three major risks from the younger generation if you're on the populist right. One is resignation, that they give up, that they think politics is useless, and a waste of time. Like many of them have dropped out of the economy over the last 2 decades, dropped out of society, dropped out of community, dropped out of neighborhoods. That is not a good thing for the survival or sustainability of any civilization. The second risk is that they join the left and see the left as the only useful mechanism by which they can get their voices heard or their revolutionary instinct expressed. Or third, that they join some kind of authoritarian right movement. I told people that the most comparable time to this amongst younger generations is really very 1930s-ish, when people heard, when the elites of Europe, the elites to a certain degree in the United States, were failing the younger generations. And so those younger generations turned to radical left or radical fascist or radical communist approaches. Fascism was a derivative of the left, but appealed to traditional right-leaning constituencies. The sort of petty bourgeoisie, as the Marxists would call them. That is a real risk. You see it. I mean, Mark Mitchell's been surveying it, keeps saying these people want, a dictator to come in and crush everything. They want a king, And
Burn
so
It Down's got exclusive data in it, brother. Or a combination of things that you just said is, some kind of combination of the right-leaning ones just give up. The other ones who were persuadable join the left-leaning ones, and that's what they become. This is the entire danger of this. There is no other route. So you're either going to get a left-wing version that accommodates something like that happening, or you're going to get real MAGA, which was supposed to be real. I'm not talking about this new version of MAGA, which is really like MEGA, make Israel great again, right? That's not going to fly with these people. They absolutely hate Israel. They hate Israel. All right, let's just say it out loud. They hate Benjamin Netanyahu, and they hate Israel.
And I would say, it's astounding to me. Republicans or elected officials are completely asleep at the wheel as to how Israel is becoming a political pariah very fast. But the other party that's completely asleep at the wheel is the Democratic Party. Do you not understand? I mean, AOC doesn't get it. The AOC thinks, I can call, Marjorie Taylor Greene names while I vote to send money to Israel after her constituents believe they committed a genocide. The Democrats are, Josh Shapiro's busy trying to make sure that a Israel skeptic Democrat doesn't get elected to the House in Pennsylvania. Any Democrat that still is pro-Israel or is pro-Israel right now has no chance at the presidential nomination of 28. None. Zero. Nunca. And Republicans better wake up to the same thing. Israel is a political pariah. Run away from them as fast and as far as you can if you want any political future in America.
Yeah, let's keep going with Gray's. He's got a few more here, and they're absolutely hysterical. So let's just roll down. All right. Doesn't the Bible say we should support Israel? Do this, bro. Do that. Man, this guy's comments are gold, bro.
He's the master of satire over the vivabarneslaw.logos.com board.
Brother, Genesis, what is it, 13 or 15? Why do I always forget this? Genesis, bro, says you have to support Israel because God told Abraham so. And if you don't know, all right, Netanyahu is basically a direct descendant of Abraham, bro. Okay,
we're not sure for the moment that the entire Old Testament is filled with prophets saying Israel needs to be punished because they're wayward.
Bro, can we be real for a second? That is what the Old Testament is. Israel effing up, the entire nation of Israel constantly screwing up and turning their back on God, with one or two heroes in each story, in each book of the Torah, putting them back on the path. People hate it when I say that, but it's true. Excuse me. What were the Israelites doing when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the commandments? What were they doing, people? After the Lord liberated them from Egypt in Exodus, what were they doing? Right, worshiping a golden cow. Okay, we can go down the line. All right, why did the leaders, why did the elders go to Samuel and say we need a king? I mean, why did they tell the prophet that they needed a king and ending the era of prophets. Why? Because his son was corrupt and they were all screwed up and they were like, what's going to happen to us? We need a king chosen by God. And he chose Saul, who also was a fuck up. All right. And then David, who I love, he's one of my favorite characters in the Bible because I see a lot of myself in David. Although I don't think I would bang my best friend's wife and then send him to the front to be killed after I couldn't get him to sleep with her to cover my shame. All right. I don't think I'd do that. Now, there has been some stuff in the past. If you have a twin sister, you may want to keep her away from me. Okay. All right. There has been stuff like that, but again, I wasn't the king and I wasn't supposed to be holding myself up. I mean, you know, man, that's just like horse shit, you know? And it's so funny though. What a great comment. Will Trump's Ukraine and Iran wars last through November? At this rate, the impact will. And here's the problem. That's a really good question. I don't see Ukraine ending anytime soon. I hope I'm wrong.
They've already said they're not going to settle. They're going to win on the battlefield.
There's no reason to.
They're going to take Odessa, maybe even take Kiev before it's all said and done. So,
at some point, because they're launching deeper into Russia, Robert, at some point, Putin's going to say, you know what? Fuck this.
Oh,
he's been so restrained.
The lead Russian military strategist, who's outside the government, but is considered one of the most well-respected, is arguing for using nuclear weapons. Others within Russia are arguing to hit Finland, hit the Sweden, hit the Baltics, because they're tired of all the nonsense.
Yeah.
And everybody sees how Iran was able to resist Israel and the U.S., and they're getting ideas from how to resist in accordance. In other words, if you say and stand tall, you're ultimately more likely to succeed than if you try to negotiate. Chances are Trump will try to murder you at some point during the negotiations, like he did with Hamas. Blamed it on Israel, but there's reason to believe he knew about it.
He tried to kill Putin.
Twice with Iran, and tried to kill Putin during it.
Ratcliffe tried to kill him.
Which that was the beginning of the sign to me that he was losing his brain. Yeah. Because a normal rational, everybody keeps expecting Trump 2024 before to come back. That's not the man in the White House anymore.
Coming back anymore. I still do. Part of me still does hold out, but I just know too much, and it's like it's very, very sad and very hard to, you know, to face people every day because I spent 10 years defending this man via defending his coalition, and you know, spent a fortune to do it. And here we are. But you know what? Let me just answer the last of that, Gray, real quick with this up. You know what will last with both those wars, but particularly Iran, even if those wars are over by November, the betrayal. That will last.
And in the Iran case, the economic ramifications.
Oh, my God. And yeah, you can't just turn that shit on and off, like you said. I mean, this idea like, oh, don't worry, we're going to end it today, and oil will be back down to $80 a barrel, and it'll be $2.50 at the gas pump again. Okay, you economic retards, bro. You're economic simpletons. Like, I mean, stop it. Stop talking about things you don't understand. It doesn't work that way. Thank you for gifting a subscription, my man, Gray. So cool, bro. Thank you so much. Why did Viva end yesterday's Sunday stream early?
It was by accident. He just went to Rumble Premium and Locals, and we were off. I didn't even know. We talked for like 15 minutes without realizing.
No.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've done stuff like that, dude. It's technical difficulty.
It was some sort of Rumble Studio issue, it appears.
Yeah, that's why I do like Rumble Studio. I'm just waiting for them to, and I do like, you know, some straight up local streams with them quite a bit, but I need to wait for a couple of things before I could, like, if I was to ever bounce on StreamYard. Every time I think I can, they keep throwing something cool and new at me. Like, I've been doing shorts more, and everyone wants more shorts. So they have an AI that generates shorts for me, and with virility assigned to it or not, and it's working. I mean, go look at my short stats. I've been actually starting to, you'll gain followers at a faster pace because people like shorts. They love it. He thought he could shoot anybody on Fifth Avenue. In his lunacy, does he think he's shooting us from the back, or dumb enough to think he can survive from front? Ooh, what a good point. Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the thing. He could shoot anybody, technically, who was in his own voter. Like, this is what Rush warned him about. You can't do it to them, dude. Like, only you can break the bond. And he knew how to break it. You know what? There's this quote by Tucker and all of everyone making fun of him, but he said something that was so true. And I do believe that he told Tucker this, because I know from things that are very similar. Tucker was like, listen, your boy BB, he hates you. He doesn't even like you. Mark Levin, he fucking hates you. You ever hear what Mark Levin has said behind your back? And he went down the list. And you know what Trump said? I know. It's like he knows. This is sad because I know this too, because I have said myself, and believe me, guys, there's some things that are just between guys that I can't ever like share with you. But like, I have existing, like his new friends, he didn't like them. He doesn't like them. All right. And that is worse though, because it tells you this is something else. He's captured by something. They have something on him. He's captured something, whatever. And he's now forced to do their bidding that he doesn't even want to do. And now he's like, and he knows it and it's eating him up. And I think that's what degraded him. You know what I mean? Like this idea, like I'm fucking Trump. And I've resisted everything. I've beaten everyone. And now they got me by the fucking balls. And I think that's what declined him. You know what I mean? Like that's what led to it. I'm just saying, because I'm a similar kind of guy.
We got to do an age cap too. And enough of these
80-year-olds. Jeez, bro. 100%.
Nothing against some of the 80-year-olds who may be listening. It's just there's a reason why we require people to be at least 35 to run for certain offices. And it's because we recognize there's plenty of smart 30-year-olds, but that isn't enough life experience to be maturity and experience.
Yep.
Disproportionately 75 or over. I mean, I know relatives and friends that are in that age category, and they're saying, I wouldn't want me at my age to be president. It's just something about the stress with that age causes these kind of collapses.
My father said that. My father said that. He was like,
it happened with Reagan.
Want to be president.
It's happened with other people too that get to this age, and that we just got to start thinking seriously about an age cap on the White House.
It's the one thing Obama said that
and the Senate, for the love of God. I mean, Dianne Feinstein, and I mean, it's like the crypt up there.
McConnell
tales from the crypt. Those people waving in. The McConnell looks older than a 100-year-old turtle. The turtle. I mean, just doesn't even know where he's at. I mean, this is embarrassing.
He like stroked out live, bro, on camera. Like it's ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And also it's like, again, Paul Dance, man, he was totally right. Like we need generational leaders that, are for our time, that will tackle our problems and understand our needs and our concerns. And the problem is, again, it goes back to like what Gray said before. If you're under 65, vote. If you're under 45, vote. You have the numbers. And this is, I'm starting to get convinced everyone knew I was right about like the posture the Republican Party needed to take after 24. Everybody knew I was right. I got immense pushback by the donor class because the truth is, Robert, they don't want those kids to vote. They don't want these young families to vote because they have no intention of delivering for them or meeting their needs. They just want, and no offense, again, they just want mind drone boomers who watch Fox News to vote in Republican primaries, particularly. That is what they want because they know they can play you, that you're good, you're fine cruising through your golden years where the rest of the country isn't. They don't want to answer to them. It's sad, man. We should thank President Trump. Iran has no nukes. This guy is too much, bro. And it's like, wait, he didn't have nukes before. Shut up, man. He's got no nukes. Wait a minute. We should thank Trump. He opened the strait. Meanwhile, they're chasing our fucking ships out of the strait as this guy's tweeting. I didn't even say that. We haven't even talked about this yet. Guys, I know for a fact that multiple of our ships are on the run and running, actively being pursued and running out of the strait. And Trump is tweeting, we locked down the strait. We're the greatest. And I'm like, this is just, and I got people from like, oh my God. Like, does he know? Of course. I mean, he was told that. Exactly. I know he was.
And it just disappears from his memory. It's like memento memory ban. It's like it never happened. I mean, I'll give Bobby Kennedy credit. He's been trying to push all the Baja stuff, and he was standing right behind Trump. And then, Trump kept going crazy in these different sessions. He like put his head down, pretend he was Googling something. The most recent one, he stayed in the corner. There's like nobody else that's behind Trump that's important. Kennedy's like trying to hide. He's like, I know he's going to say something crazy this time. So I'm going to be as far away out of the TV shot. Yeah, exactly. He's doing everything. Poor Kennedy's like, what the heck?
So in Ohio, Dems are going hard on the Epstein class, and in Wisconsin, style ads are about killer mosquitoes and foreign aid. Does this work on the normies? You know, in Wisconsin 1, there's like some specific stuff there. Yes, it does. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Epstein class stuff, right? That's what I assume.
Oh yeah, the Epstein class works everywhere.
Yeah,
foreign aid is running against it is popular.
Yeah,
killer mosquitoes. It depends on the circumstances.
it depends. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
more of a marginal issue by itself.
And trying to scare people, sometimes scaring obviously does work. But the idea is that Democrats are running on like a big picture narrative, which captures what Trump captured, which was this unhappiness that there is a ruling class that is basically august, sits above everything, and they can do whatever they want. They do whatever they want. They never address our needs. And oh, by the way, when they get ahead, it comes at our expense. And that is an anger that Trump captured. By the way, Republicans don't run on that kind of shit. They never did. And Trump did.
Well, especially being the subject to it. He went from being the sort of billionaire evil villain of comic caricature to the underdog under assault.
Class betrayer.
Now back to being the billionaire, venal, disconnected. I'm hanging out with people at Mar-a-Lago wearing masks that look like dogs.
They love me. They really love me
for my ballroom and want some money sent over here. And like when he was with demanding compliments continuously from everybody. Putting up a bunch of it was more funny in his first term. You didn't see like 40 tweets in a row about how I'm the greatest president ever. Look, everybody, I'm the greatest president.
Defended him to the death. I would have defended him to the death, Robert, but it's just not.
Now he's like an old lunatic pretending they're making another statue. He probably thinks they are putting
him
on Mount Rushmore, knowing where his mind is at.
And did you see the golden statue and the evangelical pastors? Hey guys,
I had to
it's
be
a fucking idol. Hello.
They even had the Orthodox Jews next to him. I was like, what, did Nick Fuentes set this up? Is it Nick Fuentes now your scheduler? He's like, I got an idea. Put an evangelical pastor next to 3 Orthodox Jews praising the Trump statute of gold. Blessing it.
Brother, it literally reminded me of something out of like what I was talking about before, like out of Exodus or something. Like poor Moses. And guys, you want a real laugh? Look up the architect for the ballroom. All right, you want a really good laugh? Shabbat shalom, homies. So it's like, oh my God, Rich Baris said he shouldn't pick Lee Zeldin as Attorney General because he's Jewish. He's the most preeminent lawyer in the country. And I'm like, first of all, he is not the most preeminent lawyer in the country. Second of all, if you don't understand what I meant by that, you're a fucking idiot. It's just all there is to it. If Paxton doesn't win the primary, I'm staying home. We're going to get to some of these comments now that are really, really important. You're not alone. I'm telling you, are not alone. 30% are telling us that.
If Cornyn wins Texas, because Trump's dumb enough maybe to endorse at the end, even though I don't think that'll be enough to do it, he's still tampering with.
He should have endorsed Paxton already. It's disgusting.
Absolutely. If Cornyn wins the nomination, Cornyn loses the general. Democrats win that seat if Cornyn wins the nomination. The only chance Republicans have to hold Texas is if Paxton gets nominated.
And then Juice turn out, and you know what? You need to nominate Paxton, and Trump needs to get all those disgusting rhino traitors to get behind Paxton, because they have a habit of trying to take their ball and go home like a bunch of little bitches when they lose the primary. And MAGA and the conservative insurgency never did that to them. They always said, all right, we're a team, let's go. They don't do that because they don't view you as part of their team. The truth is they view you as their betters. It's the same thing in Kentucky 4. Let me be real clear with you guys who live in Kentucky 4. They think you're fucking retarded. They think they can get Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer, 3 billionaires, to stuff AIPAC with $10 million and to ram Ed Galrin into office because they think you're stupid. That's why they think this is possible. The same way that Joe Biden and Democrats thought you were stupid and he never came out of his basement. That's what you are now. That's what you're no different than Joe Biden. The guy won't even debate. He won't come out and answer a question. He won't come on our podcast. He won't do shit. He won't even respond. Why? Because they have no respect for you at all. Nothing at all. Like or hate Massey. The guy came on the show, answered 100 questions for an hour and a half. An hour and a half. He goes all around the districts and talks to people who hate his guts, and he does it with a smile. And I don't always agree with his votes. Robert knows I've been critical of him for years on some of these votes, especially on immigration, even though guess what? We had a nice conversation live in front of everybody. And we talked about the differences. Like, this is why I don't like this. He says, this is why I do it. Weird. I know. A congressman who sits down and answers questions. I mean, look, you're all a bunch of hypocrites. If you go in that direction, you're just as bad as Democrats. Actually, you're worse. You're worse. You're worse because you're supposed to be right wing and you're supposed to be free thinkers. You're supposed to be individualistic. Instead, you're acting like a hive mind, which means you're just frauds. You're frauds. Oh my God. Rich is like calling his audience frauds. Yeah, dude, if the shoe fits, suckers, I don't give a shit. Don't watch. If Democrats didn't want to hear that Harris was going to lose the election, they didn't have to watch. You don't have to watch either. But believe me, I'm still spitting the truth. Couldn't mass amnesty revive the economy? The DOW. This guy didn't even look who the commenter was before I did it. Holy shit, Greg, you're killing me, bro. But I'll tell you what, I had a shitty day, and you really made me laugh, man. Legit made me laugh. I was having a good day, and then like 2 or 3 things happened that made it a really shitty day. And I'm like, damn, man. That's so funny. By the way, I guarantee you, I will bet anybody, and I'm not a gambling man, Robert knows it. I will bet anybody right now that Ed Galrin will vote for amnesty if he is elected. We'll come back after May 19th. If he is elected, who wants to take this bet? All right. I guarantee you he's going to do it because he's going to do whatever his AIPAC donors want him to do. And Bill Ackman needs that cheap labor. Big hospitality needs that cheap labor. Big sugar, you name it. Big Israel, what are we going to call it now, Robert? They don't give a shit about our country. They're going to squeeze us and bleed us dry. And then they're going to leave because they don't give a fuck. Once they become a region, they don't give a shit about your dumb Christian ass. You bought all this, Judeo-Christian value shit. They're laughing all the way to the Manischewitz, bro. Man, I wasn't yet sold on Brown flipping Ohio until I saw that ad. Brutal. I had it tilt to lean R, not anymore. I'm telling you, dude, Sherrod Brown is the favorite. Sherrod Brown. Yeah. It is not like a huge favorite that gets likely, but Brown is favored. Go look at how he performed with Trump on the ballot against Bernie Moreno, and Bernie was a way better candidate than John Husted. Husted is a George Bush Republican. He ain't getting those votes out of Franklin suburbs anymore the way George Bush used to. And even when he did, he only won by 2 points. Like, this is not, guys, this isn't going to happen. Sherrod Brown is probably going to be the next senator again from Ohio. I don't like it, but go look at it. What are you going to do? Mahoning, Wood, all the way from the Northeast to the Northwest. You're not backing them up against Sandusky like that, the way Trump did. It's not, and the way Vance did. Vance was a superior candidate. He was so good. So good. The guy was wrong. I mean, if you didn't see it for yourself, it's hard to explain it. How good that shit was. He caught lightning in a bottle in a year where Tim Ryan was tough. That was a tough race. And again, if Vance was on the ticket, Robert, with Trump, let's say Trump was like running in 24 and Vance was running against Ryan. Vance would have probably maybe lagged Trump by like 2 to 3 points. But he would have won by like 10, 11, something like that. Right. Moreno only won by 3.5. You're just not used to that as sure as hell no Vance, and he's not a Moreno.
And people should look at, like Nebraska, that people thought they could. That independent candidate has a history of outperforming the Trump margins in those districts, in those states.
You know what?
So, and again, when I went back and looked historically, the key was look at the 2 different things. In this context, wherever there's a big Hispanic population, go back and look at pre-2016 Democratic margins rather than post-2016 Democratic margins. But secondly, if you look at it, what was predictive was whether or not in the prior 6 years there had been any close election for statewide office at the federal level, either Senate or the White House. And because, many of the seats that the Republicans lost in 1974, Nixon had won by like 25 plus points.
That's right.
So
yes.
That is not the best metric to use. The metric people should be looking at is, has this ever been competitive, e.g. within single digits, within the last 6 years? and or 8 years. And if it has, then those seats are not safe seats for Republican incumbents.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So Ohio exit polls, excuse my Charles Terwitt ad. I love Charles Terwitt. Look at the general election. We can go by party in a second, but like age, Trump 30 to 44, he actually did win that. Trump won every single age group in the state of Ohio. Okay. Now look at the Senate. Brown won 18 to 29 by 8 points when Trump won it. So it's basically a 20-point difference. Okay. 30 to 44 is a 10-point difference. Actually 11, because you got to swing it by 1. 45 to 64, 58 to 39, and 65 or older, which is what cracks me up, Robert. Again, like they act like they are governing for this age group when Republicans don't even fucking perform that well with it. The Gen Xers and the Boomer 2s are actually more Republican than the Boomer 1 silent Gen. It just pisses me off. It's like they don't even know who the hell their constituency is. They really don't. But look at Trump with the Gen X to Boomer 1, 45 to 64, or the Boomer 2, sorry, 45 to 64. He only won 65 plus by 8. You're not getting that in Ohio in the midterm. It's not going to happen. So like and then by the way, we could actually do party real quick just to show people party. Because it's like, oh, well, Rich, where are all these people coming from if there's such a huge registration advantage, right? Look at Trump. He won 7% of the Democrats, only lost 5% of Republicans, and he won independents by 2. Independents were 28% and Democrats were 31. Now look at the Senate. Okay. All right. Brown. Wait a minute. I have to do party again. Okay. Brown only lost 4% of the Democratic base to Moreno, which was 3 points better than Harris. He won more of the Republican base than Trump was able to, sacrifice to Harris. And then as Trump won independents, Brown won them by 9. I mean, guys, you don't understand. These are not partisan like you're partisan. They're not like that. And even the Republicans, as you can clearly see, not all of them, because many are new Republicans. They're not born, bred, strict, loyal, partisan, loyal Republicans. They were flirting with you, and you weren't even out on a date with them, let alone married to them. They were flirting with you. Now you just got caught squeezing the girl's ass on the next stool. All right? Like, that's it. Like that, you're screwed. I hate to tell you, like it's really again. Trump's on the ballot.
It's like the analogy would be like if you're married to Melania and you're seen with Laura Loomer. It's that kind of degree.
Oh shit! Will Melania ever?
That's the difference between OG MAGA and MIGA.
Oh my god! But it's such a good analogy. It's
really an analogy for anyone that's watching. Trust me.
Clearly, I wonder. Never mind. I'm not even going to say that's over the problem with Nebraska. And by the way, did you see Loomer with that bullshit fucking about Marjorie Taylor Greene again with the insider trading? Robert, how could you just lie like this and not get sued?
Keeps lying and lying and lying.
Can't Marjorie just sue her for this?
Oh, yes, she can. She can at this point with relative ease.
Like, that's demonstrably false. We've been over this, by the way, guys. You may not like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She did not make her money off of insider trading. We've been through this with the father's. Thank you, Robert. Go ahead.
Her father's construction business she inherited after her father died suddenly. That's where the money came from.
A lie, dude. It's just a bald-faced lie, which everybody now knows. And it's like, this is what's so gross, is that Trump and his new Israel First friends send people like her out there to just knowingly lie about people. And guys, that's wrong. Again, we were supposed to be better. You want to beat someone in the marketplace of ideas. That's the way to go. That's the way you maintain respect and credibility with the voters. Pulling this kind of shit is just dirty. It's disgusting. And don't you dare bring your fucking faith into the conversation about anything ever again, because you clearly are not anyone with any spirituality or, any compass, that's directed from biblical principle and scripture. You're full of shit. Problem with Nebraska is that the ratings and polls are predicated on there not being a D candidate, but it appears the DNC failed to kick the dinos off. Not all of them. Impact Research did. They did include that. They did include scenarios
and
for
remind
that.
everybody what happened in Alaska when they thought this
I
would
was just
work
gonna
to keep
yeah.
Murkowski out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they first of all, Impact did do one scenario like that, and they had Osborne over Ricketts still by like 2.4 because it looked like they were pulling support from both. I don't know.
Osborne, what was it, 24? I think he only lost by 6 or 7 points.
Yeah, dude,
In
it was
state,
close.
Trump won by 22 or 23.
It was close. He's still well known, and he's actually liked, even though like a lot of people who like him still didn't vote for him because they didn't want to give the seat up. You know?
He's great on antitrust. A lot of farmers are getting hammered right now. He's a big farmer advocate. So I think that's very much up for grabs.
Well, that's what I'm worried
even
about.
with Democrats having a nominal candidate out, because Democrats are very good at getting out the message come election time.
Don't
who
vote.
to vote for.
Yeah, we saw this in Pat Roberts was only almost defeated in Kansas in 2014 because they abandoned their candidate for an independent. They just did it too late, and they've learned their lesson, I guess. But they did this
with Osborne. I mean, this is why they dominate ranked choice voting. They educate their voters much better than Republicans do.
Way better. But that is a good, and yes, if they, Republicans are saved by the last minute, it'll be because of a hiccup like that. But I do think we've seen Democrats be successful. Like Robert actually just brought up one point, Karl Rove teamed up with Democrats in Alaska to prevent Joe Miller from beating Lisa Murkowski, and they had to write her name on the ballot. It was like an incredible feat. I got to be honest, but they were Karl Rove didn't pull that shit off. The Democratic machine did. Their ground game, and Andrew Colvin, he'll tell you this too, guys. And so will Tyler Bauer, who runs Chase the Vote at TPUSA. While we did remarkably better in 24, they still ran circles around us, and they were huge. It's just they were way bigger than us. It's just that they had a shitty message, which is, by the way, the warning I sent them last week privately, Robert, which I'm now going to expose out here, is that they were like, look at we finally did get our act together with this get out the vote. And I was like, right, you're 3 months too fucking late. And as the great Alex Castellanos once said, you can have all of the people in the world come, but if there ain't no message, you're just sitting in a barn, right? It ain't church, bro. It's just the barn. If there ain't no message, all you got are a bunch of people sitting in an empty barn. That's it. He's totally right about it. I mean, Trump still won because he had the message. And there were all Jim Messina and all these people banging on doors. We talked to this one voter in Philly, and he was this black guy who they convinced to hand it in his absentee ballot vote in 2020. And they knocked on his door again, and they were like, you haven't voted. Hurry up. Trump's going to win Pennsylvania if you don't vote. And he's like, you fucking crackers made me vote for a senile old man. I'm not. Give me my damn ballot. Get off my porch. It was so funny, man. And I don't know if he wound up voting for Trump in the end or not. He told us, I think it was like the Thursday before or Sunday before the election, that he might show up and vote for Trump, but he was like uncertain. So he picked greater than 30% chance, less than 50. That's what he picked in our voting thing. I wonder if he did. I should go back and check that guy and see if he ever voted. I'm curious now. I'm real curious. If war doesn't end soon, I'm voting Dem for House.
Understandable.
Yeah, I get it. And listen, Owen, I don't know if you saw it on my locals. He's a longtime listener. Did you read that? He was like, this is why I'm voting Democrat. And it was a sound argument. Like, this is a transaction and you can't renege on us. You have to be punished because it's our only way to punish you. Like, you're not helping me anyway. And while Democrats aren't going to be good for me, it will be better in the long run because now I'm fucking serious. It was very well written, very well articulated, and can't blame you guys. As a millennial, I entered the workforce in 2008. Ever since, I feel like my available income has been stagnant. That's because it has been, actually. In fact, you were gaining for a while there for 16 consecutive months or 15 under first Trump, and then COVID killed you, man. And it's been like that ever since. Not just a lot, all of us, Roll on Barnes and Baris, hard-hitting, poll posting, the never backing down front line, practically breaking the electorate, eloquently superb. Awesome comment, Ben. Thank you so much for your super chat, and thank you for appreciating that. We could do this a lot differently. We could just chit-chit to Chattanooga. Nice, Ben. Nice. See you there.
Don't know you might be able to go to the site. We were able to do some.
Oh yeah, why don't we do that already?
1776lawcenter.com still has available tickets, but the tickets are limited and capped. We've got, Alexander McCorris, Alex Christoforou, Larry Johnson, Daniel
Boom.
Davis, Richard Barris. But yeah, roll down, see if you can push up
Woo-hoo.
the. We got you in some patriotic stuff.
Oh
It's
no!
right there in the middle, still with the coat,
Where am I?
With the
Yeah,
patriotic
I
vest.
love it. Oh my God, this is great. I'm tweeting this. Are you kidding me? This is awesome. I'm tweeting it. I'm Instagramming it. Oh yeah, this is great. Oh man, amazing. I got to grab it. Oh, look at that. Look at Chase. Look at Chase. That's funny. And look at Greg. Actually looks like he belongs there, bro.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Oh my God, this is going to be great. And there's Rep Renault. That's cool. Look at that, man. I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. Yeah, guys, we're going to have a blast at this thing. I'm really looking forward to this. There it is right there. I'll put this up on my locals too. And my gram, which isn't getting a huge following yet, but an interesting following. All right. It's like so funny. Have you ever seen a gram account with 500 followers from everybody in DC? Like it's all reporters, White House people. It's weird, bro. It's weird. My wife's a little concerned. But yeah, guys, definitely go get them. There still are some available, but they are capped. So once they're gone, they're gone. Make your plans. It's a great city to go and hang out in for 2 days. Amazing. I'm staying. So I'm really looking forward to this. I you know what? This is going to have to be like an annual thing because I love this city, man. And I know my wife's going to love it too. So it's just going to be good. We decided the kids are staying home. They annoyed her so bad the other day. They took away our me time. I think we were going to go out a little bit and something happened. They're like, oh, both of them, a last minute something. And she turned to me and she was like, the hell with it. We're going alone. I'm like, I told you, when do we get some time alone, babe? Let's just go alone, But yeah, thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. And don't forget, if you haven't gotten one, get yourself one. We'll see you there, Republicans better be careful, or an Ossoff Kana 2028 campaign will be the final nail in their coffin for a generation. Absolutely. That or some form of that. Ossoff scares the shit out of me. Ossoff scares me bad, bro. He does. Yeah. And then Georgia will be gone for years. If Ossoff runs for president, he's going to win it twice. It'll continue with its demographic change. The central and southern ancestral Democrat that votes for Trump and that we have needed to bring over to the Republican Party because they don't show up in our Senate races, they'll be gone. They'll be gone forever. The northern Republican will, just be depressed. But they'll be there, but they'll be depressed. The MTG district, which, by the way, backs up very closely to what's his name's. This is a real problem, guys. These are not, we can go through the numbers again over and over, and we will leading up to the election. This idea, people think these states are stronger than they are, and they're not, stronger than they are, stronger Republican than they are.
Whoever's doing the messaging for Ossoff's campaign is brilliant. The best on the Democratic side I've seen since old school James Carville.
That's because that's you and me.
Yeah.
We just did it for free on accident. They just listened and they took it. It was like verbatim what we've been saying, what we said and what we tested and polled even before we tested his message. That we were like, this is what they're gonna do. And I don't know how you guys don't see this. And I'm not gonna say because I don't want to embarrass him, but I will tell you that trying to warn these people, they outwardly dismissed Ossoff. They outwardly dismissed Ro Khanna. They outwardly dismissed even AOC's going down a wrong path in a real weird way here, but they outwardly dismissed a wing of the Democratic Party that used the Epstein files to kind of purge or at least put in the back seat, sit down, bitches. They took that old class of Democrats and they were like, now sit down. You're in the back of the bus now. And they're in charge. They're running the messaging. And it's the Sherrod Browns and the John Ossoffs and the Ro Khannas. And it's deadly. That message is deadly. We have it hasn't been this powerful since Barack Obama. And we honestly have nothing to combat it because we're seen as frauds. I think people don't want to admit it. I don't know, but dude, for 60% of the country now, almost, it's he's a laughing stock. He's a total, he's a joke. I hate saying that because I personally love the guy. I do. But this is what he's done. He's done it to himself. He's dragging down the most talented, our best shot for the future. He's pulling him down with him. And the collateral damage is going to be our future president. That's what's going to happen. Oh, and by the way, the other one, they killed him and nothing happened. So, it's terrible, bro. It's just terrible. Totally right, though. 1998 Milo. And thanks for the super chat. Is that Milo? That's not you, Milo, is it? Is it Milo? He's always been nice to me, bro. I don't mess with Milo, bro. He'll bury your ass. You know what I mean? I don't mess with him. He's always been nice to me. He's always treated me good. We're cool. Galatians says Jesus himself is the heir of Abraham's promise.
Yeah, well, the whole point of the new covenant is it replaces the old covenant.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the whole is really. It was a heretical belief structure created by compromised televangelists to snooker and sucker a generation of evangelicals into thinking that the political cause of a small group of politicians in a little foreign nation that happened to call itself something that was familiar to them somehow had anything at all to do with their religious beliefs. And the only people who still believe it are boomer evangelicals. Every other evangelical group does not agree with that.
Amen. I mean, he said it. That's it. I can't even add anything to it. Straight up heresy that was invented about 40 years ago, guys. I mean, that's it. In the late 1970s, when Begin and Likud won, they created a financial relationship with those people that Robert was just talking about. That's it. It's fake. It's heresy. Has Zionism been around? Sure, as a form of heresy that has been condemned. By the way, when it came on the scene, even John McCain was calling it heresy. So, I mean, this is, come on, guys, we have something called Google. It's amazing, this one, I can't really answer this yet, Mr. Massey. All I can tell you is, I mean,
it's going to be tight.
It's going to be close.
It's all going to be turnout. If you're down there, get people out to vote. Get anybody under the age of 65 out to vote. Get them out, get them out, get them out.
Drive the 65 plus back to 35% of the electorate and Massey will win. I mean, the difference is
all turnout.
It's all turnout. If the 18 to 44s come out, Massey's going to win. If they don't, he's going to lose. I mean, that's it. And I, as a pollster, I have to decide what the hell I'm going to do with my turnout modeling. It sucks. This is the worst fucking kind of fucking race to poll. We're probably going to drop the first one. I was going to say this anyway, but I'll just tell you now, Robert, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I do know of another one that's coming out Wednesday. So, or is going to try.
I think they have. I mean, the other thing is people can track it because I believe there's early voting starting on Friday.
There is.
So
and
you
actually,
can see who's turning out, what the profile is. Is it up? Is it down? Which I don't know whether you can look at age or not. I know Kentucky ultimately publishes.
I can. Yeah,
and that will tell you, is it trending in the right direction or the wrong direction? What does he need to do by Tuesday to pull it out?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
If independents could vote, Massey would have won easily. If they could participate by identifying as Republican in the primary, he would have won easily. Neither is the case. This is a closed primary limited to Republicans that are registered as Republicans many months ago. That makes it, skews it to where the boomer population varies historically in Kentucky in these kind of primaries between 35% and 50% of the primary electorate. Yeah. The higher the share they are, the more Massey is in trouble. The lower their share they are, the more Massey is in good shape. It's all a turnout game at this point.
Even a modest increase in 18 to 44, it will make a massive, massive difference. All right. So listen, again, I'm going to say this how I opened it. Galrin's entire campaign, it is the old playbook of the establishment Republican Party. They do this on purpose, hoping to depress everyone but old whites. And it's a very white district. So generally speaking, doesn't matter, but old people, it's just everyone but old people. They actually don't want young people to vote. So there's a reason for that. And they know that's what the reason is, that, if people under 45 come, actually, like you said, it's really under 65, but the younger, the better. The reason why I'm saying under 45 is because that's the growth of the district. And that's even all of the new Republican registrations. They're not old. They're all under 45. and they just have to come out and vote. Massey will be reelected. If they don't, which is what they're counting on, he's going to be in trouble. So, I mean, if you're in Kentucky 4, you don't have to surrender. You just come out and you win. You got to get everyone you know to go out who's registered as a Republican and vote. It comes down to that. They're going to count on 45 to 55 Boomer when it really should just be 35. And if it's 35, Massey will win. It's that simple. I mean, it really is. I will be doing that. We'll drop the first wave, Robert. I was thinking like Wednesday, Thursday, and then try to. It's a district, so it's hard to. If you do a tracker, it's hard to do it daily. But we'll be able to do at least 2 more updates, Saturday and Monday or something. I'm thinking, and by then, Saturday I'll have some early vote data. And then maybe it'll even be Sunday, Monday, because like I'll have the early vote and who's what age is what. There's excused early voting that actually started the 6th. It's very little bit amount, but then there's no excuse absentee ballot locations that kick off today. I think. Let me look. I think it's today, isn't it? It might have been.
I thought it was Friday or some reason.
It could be. It could be. It's actually on my questionnaire. I just this is it. It's on my questionnaire. Okay. So there was excuse started the 6th. You could do it from the 6th, 7th, 8th, 11th, 12th, and 13, but that's excused. And there's legitimately very little people. There's reasons that have to be done. You are right. It is the 14th when no excuse absentee locations open up in Boone and Kenton, Campbell, and all the other rural counties. Plan to vote. Actually, if you want, I can at least give you guys this, how people plan to vote. All right. And what the percentages are. I'll give you guys that preview. It's updating for new responses. Give me a second because I know there's going to be more. Woo! Finally. There we go. People getting home. Plan to vote in person on election day is about 80%. Plan to vote early via no excuse absentee ballot is about 15. I'm rounding here, so bear with me. All right. Already voted is very, very little. It's about 3%. And that is people who had excused absentee ballots, which we can actually check. Plan to vote early via mail at a drop box location, 2.7. So you can get a mail-in ballot, but you have to bring it specific drop box, which you can do early when early voting, I think, opens up. But I think most people do it on election day to put it in the mail, put it in the drop box. That's going to be very little. If it's a close election, we will literally have to wait for those to be counted. It's going to be crazy. But again, 80% will go out and vote on election day. Been Trump all the way with the Epstein mishandling and now the Iran war. I don't give a crap who he endorses. Long live Massey. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. I mean,
I'll be curious to see like your national surveys. Like I just tested that on my locals board.
Yeah.
The Aviva Barnes Law.locals.com. How do people identify? Do they identify as independent, don't share anything in common with either side, independent, equal? And then did independent America First, independent Maha, and then Republican America First, Republican MAGA, Republican Maha, Republican Traditional. 2 things stand out. I mean, our audience was always kind of split. It was usually 50% independent, 50% Republican. But of that Republican, most were MAGA, would identify as MAGA Republican, and didn't distinguish between that and America First. Now MAGA Republican, at least on our board, is like down to 10%. It's approaching single digits. And there's a shift. About 70% identifies either independent or third party potential option, libertarian, etc. And then of the independents, overwhelmingly America First. And then of the Republicans that do still identify as Republican, it's overwhelmingly America First, not MAGA. Like the true hardcore Trump base, the MAGA Republican Fox News watching BoomerCon is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking as a share of the electorate. And over time is literally dying off.
And that's the danger here, Robert, that if they start nominating these candidates, because AIPAC is spending an ungodly amount of money this election cycle more than any. Decision Desk did a whole thing about AIPAC spending in the post October 2021, the attack. But this amount is disgusting for a midterm, and they're trying to like get incumbents embedded now because they know what the trend is. Here's the problem. The Democratic Party is a lot less. It is still obviously, beholden to a lot of Israel ties and lobby, but the Republican Party and the Zionism connection with evangelicals are a real problem. And if they're going to kill their own brand, they're like, so again, understand what Israel is doing here. They're killing the Republican Party and they fucking know it. They know it.
And
They've been briefed.
An example.
Yeah.
If Massey were to lose this primary, this is the kind of seat that on paper Republicans would never lose. But due to the unique dynamics and everything, it wouldn't shock me to see a Democrat pull a shocker in November in this seat. They're risking losing the seat altogether by just trying to take out Massey.
I know, no, and the thing is, again, he's nationally recognized as representing that wing of the coalition. They're risking a whole shitload to take out Thomas Massey. There will be people across the country who are so fucking mad, they're not going to show up in November. They're going to be gone. And like, you know what? Again, you make your fucking bed, and I really am so tired of trying to stop Republicans from sticking a knife in their own throat. I'm over it now, Robert. I really am. It's not my job. And it's like, they're just dirty. They're crooks. And I'm just disgusted Trump joined that side. I really am. He's like fucking Anakin Skywalker to me at this point, bro. I mean, he is like, and he's not to me. Honestly, he was to Americans first. And then I realized they were right. Like, cause I know more than they actually know. And you know what always gets me? The instinct of Americans. They're busy. They're working. They're trying to live their lives. But they know things. Like, it's always like Occam's razor to them. Like, what's the simplest explanation? Why did Trump dog walk? Why did Trump get us into a war that we didn't want to get into after he promised for 10 years that he would never do this to us? Why did he do it? Well, I guess he's, Netanyahu's got something on him. It's the worst thing. It's like the Epstein ship, whatever it is. I don't know specifically, but he's Israel's bitch. And it ends up being the case. Like, they're just smart, bro. They are. And it's like people mistake their being busy for being dumb. And then it always turns out that they were absolutely right in some way, shape, or form. Even if like the details, maybe they didn't know all the details or something. They knew. They understood what was like, what time it was, what was happening. Barnes and Baris are the best duo. Well, thank you. We should just end on that, aside from the locals' comments.
There you go.
Take it.
Next week will be, what are the odds? Will be Tuesday, because it will be election day in Kentucky. So I figured, might as well do it that way. Flow right into the election analysis. I think it'll be the best thing for the country, the best thing for the Republican Party, the best thing, honestly, for Trump, despite him not knowing it, is for Massey to win that primary. For a whole bunch of reasons. But for all those that, if you want to come to the conference where Richard's going to be speaking, I'm going to be speaking, Viva's going to be there, a bunch of, Larry Johnson, Daniel Davis, Alexander McCoris coming all the way from the UK, Alex Christoforou coming all the way from Cyprus to talk about domestic policy, foreign policy, reforming the intelligence community, the military-industrial complex, our agriculture, Brad Geyer, a January 6th defense lawyer, a whole bunch of folks, Chase Hughes talking about CIA psyops, Greg Hartley and Scott Rouse from the body language panel talking about negotiations and interviews and all the rest. That's at 1776lawcenter.com. Tickets are limited. So once we're done because we have a hard cap. So if you get a chance to come, it'd be great to see you all there. But that's at 1776lawcenter.com.
All right, Robert, I'm going to blaze through some of these. Yeah, I'm going to blaze through the Rumble rants real quick. And then, you know what I'm going to do for locals? I'll do a road rage where I've done this before, where we run out of time. But I'll do the road rage, and I'll do all their like tipped questions on a road rage. All right.
Perfect.
Is that cool with you, locals? You got this, right? All right, Robert.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll see you later, brother. And then I'm going to do a speed run with the Rumble rants right now. You guys ready? Everyone can breathe easy. This is Kimmy. Everyone can breathe easy because X22 says Trump has the military. Laugh out loud. Where have we heard that before? I know, Kimmy. Listen, Iran's going to quit. It's just that they're waiting for the military tribunal to be impaneled for Barack Obama. I mean, like, this stupidest shit. I mean, I feel like we're in the 4chan QTAR days all over again, Kimmy. All over again. AI centers have a lot of data on millions, including signature data and who votes and who doesn't. Could it be used to sway elections by adding votes? Not yet. It's not that, nothing like that is there. It would, because elections are so decentralized, it would have to be in that area. There would have to be specific, data centers targeting specific areas. And I don't want to get too much into it for obvious reasons. But honestly, what it can be used is to swing elections like Google swings elections for micro targeting. and worse, and even persuasion. And that's the danger, I think, of AI, because I don't think that, hi, Pumpkin, I don't think that people will understand what it is and what's being thrown at them. It's really unbelievable. Wild Bills, and that's another thing. Again, like I said, look, when they asked me, what about AI? What about the data centers? At first, I didn't realize what they were doing. I thought they were legitimately asking me how Americans feel about AI and the data centers in particular, and they weren't. They were just concerned about whether or not they would tolerate this arrangement that they have. And it's like, this is why Bannon was so against it. It's gross. It is. And who's going to police it? They're in on it. Wild Bill Zero, since they've been calling us panicans, I've started calling them retardicans. Man, that's a good one, dude. I mean, look, it's just so corny. It's low IQ. It's super, super low IQ. Oh, Stingray, I think you asked the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry if you did that just because I didn't answer it yet. But I am concerned about the signature data too, which is why I really wanted the ability to I really want the ability to start verifying ballots. Look, if we're all going, they have our data anyway, as you clearly know. So it wouldn't be difficult for us to have to in-person verify with like a fingerprint. If we open our iPhones with facial recognition software, or we open up my keyboard right here, has a fingerprint, but I can't access my computer without a biometric scan. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, we might as well go biometrics, but we're the most supposedly technologically advanced country in the world. And, we should be able to do it. Oh, what do we got here? King of Biltong. Baris, you need some biltong, man. Robert, Nicole needs your address. We cannot ship to a P.O. box. We can use a UPS door-to-door. Also, get some biltong at biltongusa.com. Code Barnes for 10% off. For 10 off. 10 off. I'm clicking on it right now. I love me some biltong, dude. But you can definitely hit me up. I used to have a biltong sponsor, and I don't anymore because they rotated, Biltong USA anti-crawler protection. Oh my God, that looks delicious. Oh my Lord. Oh, now you made me hungry. I love biltong. I have some still, but oof, that looks good. Check it out, guys. Link's in there. I clicked on it. It's legit. It's a legit link. You have to pass their thing though, because they're protecting their website, which is fine. That's you need to pay attention to Rumble too, Rich. I'm trying, Kimmy. I'm trying. All right. Without Laura, it's just tough. It's everywhere. I need them. That's the one thing that really kind of annoys me. They don't bring Rumble comments and locals comments into the aggregate of the chat, so I don't see it right away. I have to just rotate or else I'll miss them. Tell Robert that he answered me on X. Where to donate to Massey, and I did. Okay, I'll tell him. Okay. I'll screenshot that and send it over to him. You are unofficially my official counselor. I live for your rants and raves and FUs. My fam's friends barely know there's a war. My grandbaby only knows Roblox and being an astronaut. I live vicariously through you. Thank you so much. It's a great Rumble rant. Glad to be a help, CK. That's really cool. You know what? It's let me see if I can just, you know what? I'm going to use your thing real quick because I did reference what you were writing about. So I'm going to say this. This is what Owen said himself, okay? For his argument about why he is voting Democrat, or maybe not voting, but some for some races, but why he does think they need to be punished. I'm advocating that America first take their ball home, and if our candidate loses primaries, that we not only stay home, but vote Democrat in those elections. We have been a frog stung by a scorpion. I say we become the scorpion. I advocate a bloody midterm. Any numbers on if my take the ball home position is big enough to ensure the neocon scorpions lose against Dems in general. Oh my God. Oh, Owen, if you guys did that, if you do the take my ball home, and the thing is too, Democrats are going to be like, look at how many people we won. honestly, this is an argument for why Owen's strategy may actually make sense. And I know that people are going to be like, look, the people's pundits said vote Democrat. I'm exploring different scenarios of human behavior. Okay. What I'm saying is this. You could cause the Republicans to get their asses kicked and force themselves to realize you can't keep screwing your voters like this. And two, you could cause a fake or a false affirmation for Democrats. What do I mean by that? They will think that it means you're endorsing them. That could lead to a gross miscalculation and backlash. And then Democrats will get crushed in 2028 if they go crazy. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I'm just keeping this up again one more time, guys, because I'm going to pop something else on, but 1776lawcenter.com. I'll share it in the chats so you guys know where to go. All right. Boom. And then on Getter, boom. Locals, you know already, but bear with me. I think we need to discuss Owen's thing more seriously, because I think a lot of people are going to do this. I do. And I think probably at this rate, Owen, organically, more people just won't vote. I think that's what was more likely to happen, unless there's like more of a significant, like a, how could I put this? Like a specific campaign put in place where you organize, like Democrats organized what Robert and I said before with Lisa Murkowski. There's no way Republicans would ever have been able to pull off that write-in campaign. Democrats did that, and they were amazing at doing it. Amazing at it. Yeah, what do I got to do again real quick before I go? Right, shameless plug for the book. Burn It Down is about what Robert and I were talking about. This generational change is going to come. It's going to come very, 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 very quickly. And if we don't pay attention to it, we're going to be burned regardless. And shit's going to be burned down regardless. The question is, will it be done by Republicans and give Gen X down what they want, especially the millennials and Generation Z, or will Democrats cater to their needs and then they will own the next century? They'll own it. The boomers are on their way out. I'm not saying this to be like nasty or dark or morbid. They have had control most of this last half century into the next century, basically since the Cultural Revolution up until now. It is only normal and natural for the generations to come to take the reins. Boomers are holding on in a weird way, and they've gotten power, institutional power, beyond, I think, anything anyone else has been able to achieve. Shit is going bad because of it. Republicans were in such a great position in 24 to take advantage specifically of the millennials because they participated more. They will eventually be, for a while, for a little bit, Gen X will be it. But millennials will eventually become the biggest block. It's not that far away. And God help us if the last thing they remember is that Trump fucked them. God help us all. God help us all. All right. With that in mind, it's 9:10. Locals, I will be rolling through your tips tomorrow. We'll do a thing on your tips. All right. So if you gave, I did some, but there's a lot here and I didn't get anywhere near it. And by the way, Drearier, I remember. You're one of the OGs. I saw yours. I remember. Yeah, we'll go through this and, we'll do a road rage. If not, I'll just do it, together alone, we'll go from there. Oops. Sorry. That is an AI thing telling me I did not interview some of the people that were flagged to be interviewed. So I'll have to do that tomorrow, 10:30 in the morning. I'll give them a buzz. All right. The link to Burn It Down is in the description. The link to everything's in the description. We're everywhere at peoples_pundit, of course, on X and the gram. Don't forget to follow the Instagram. Follow the gram for the cool, funny shorts and recaps for the show. All right. And the best place to follow, as always, is on Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. If you want to help us track all the way till Monday, the Public Polling Project link is also in the description. Share it, contribute to it. Hopefully we can raise enough to track till Monday, which I'm probably going to do anyway. So the real question is, help me not dip into my own pocket so much, because that's what I'm going to do. I just hate the idea of missing any last minute shift. Districts are hard to pull. They're tough. Things can move at the very last minute. There does still seem to be quite a few, kind of undecideds. The question is, where are they going to go? Right. All right. So I did see there's quite a few. Looks like we got 100 and something as we were on the show. We got, what is that? 107, 116 completeds while we were on the show live. That's good. That's good. It's a lot for live. All right. By mode, there's a difference. And that kind of concerns me. That scares me. By mode, there's a difference. By mode, one mode, Massey's doing much, much better. And that's weird to me. It should be, in my mind, it should be something else. I don't know. But we'll see. Still early. Like I said, we'll try my best to get this out by Wednesday, Thursday. Link is in the description. You guys will see it. All right, I'm out. I hope you guys have a great rest of the night. It looks like the 6 o'clock hour is doing well, especially for the reason Barnes said, because if we have an election like we do next Tuesday, then we can just do what are the odds on Tuesday instead of Monday and roll right into it. Be cool. Or both. Maybe I'll do an inside the numbers Monday, and then we'll do it. What are the odds on Tuesday? In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do. All right. But in the meantime, tonight, what I'm going to do now is have a protein shake and go see my family. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching so much. As always, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Deuces.